Oh, ooh. How's life?
Stop. You don't know anything. You have.
No,
right?
I
So
haven't.
You, so, no. Stop. You don't know
are...
anything about these January 6 cases. You don't know why these people are in jail. You don't know that a man is in Brooklyn right now for 3 years without charge or trial. And when Donald Trump says these people have been held for too long,
what's the name?
You say, no, Trump is wrong. Keep them locked up. That's fascist. Dude, you've been sitting here with no knowledge of the specifics of some of these cases. There is a man in Brooklyn right now. I'm going to say it again. No charges whatsoever brought. He's been in jail for
what's the name?
3 years. For you to sit there and say it is good that he remains locked up.
Man, how old is Luke? But no, I guess it doesn't matter. Man, what a brave guy. What a brave guy. Tim Pool dragging on somebody, and that, like, does Luke even do like hardcore debate like this to scream at him in a studio? He's so brave.
Is fascism. That is saying the hierarchical system of the courts and the government is just, and the process is all that matters.
Wow, that's fascism. Courts are fascism now? Courts and legal systems are fascism now?
And I am saying perhaps 3 years is enough because I actually have moral logic and an understanding of these cases. Hence, my position on January 6th has always been the people who have attacked police must go to prison. But 3 years is a fucking long time for assault on an officer. We have seen people on the far left, notably...
Wait, so he was charged with a crime? Assault on an officer? Or is that just what we think he did, or...
When they were firebombing shit all across Minnesota.
Oh, BLM. That's relevant.
33 people murdered. And how many criminal charges do we get for this? When they firebombed a police station and forced the police to evacuate. On May 29th, 2020, when thousands of far leftists firebombed the White House grounds and set fire to St. John's Church and injured 100 police officers, how many fucking people went to prison for 3 years? How many of them who never showed up on that day are in prison for 20 years? Enrique Tarrio wasn't even in D.C. on January 6th. And you are saying that man who his only crime was, quote...
Whose fault is that? Who is the president? Who is in charge of security at the District of Columbia, by the way? It was Donald Trump, dipshit. Notice how he never uses names when it's his own fucking side that's culpable. If you wanted these people prosecuted, like, what's your issue? Chris Wray was your appointed FBI head. Bill Barr was your appointed DOJ head. And Donald Trump is the top guy for security on federal property. That's on you. That's on you, Lil Gup. Say the name.
Don't leave. That's his only crime. You think he should be in prison for 20 years because you're a fascist. You don't care what the facts are. You don't care if this is unjust. You only care that the machine state has decreed you are not to be locked up. And this is the problem I have with the left. They don't know the facts. They don't care about the facts. They view morality as a blanket government stroke of the pen. And every person, regardless of their crime, should be in prison for decades. I reject it outright. The people who fought cops should go to prison. They did. It's been 3 years. But when you've got people who are on misdemeanor charges for having walked into a building at 4 p.m. after the riot, and I know some of these people, they walked into a building for 2 minutes and walked out, and they got 18 months for that. I don't see you defending the innocent people who walked onto a public grass at a public building after a riot had been completed. You don't know. You don't care. You've taken a tribal position and people are suffering because of it. Now you say that Donald Trump saying the injustice that we've seen warrants commutation or pardons. You say that means he's advocating for violence. This is the ultimate problem. Then you cite a press release from Maryland saying, but the right's more violent. There is a distinction between a white supremacist as a right-wing group and a run-of-the-mill Christian conservative who showed up on that day not to protest. Let's talk about Brandon Straka. He never went in the building. He was on the other side of the building. There was a permitted protest. He walked up the stairs and he was...
Ah, we have a name.
Yelling. They put this guy in prison. There is Owen Shroyer, who was at a permitted rally, who was yelling death to communists. They put him in prison and specifically cited his speech. My dude, you don't know what you're talking about.
Brandon Straka? Was that the name? Oh, from my city. Oh, Straka. A federal judge reprimanded a prominent pro-Trump social media personality on January 6th Capitol right defender for making questionable comments in the media about his plea agreement and cooperation with law enforcement. Those comments, U.S. District Court Judge Dabney Friedrich said, were inconsistent with what he previously told the court. He's losing more and more credibility by the moment, Friedrich said at the hearing, which was held via teleconference. Judge Friedrich said the defendant, Brandon Straka, was possibly opening himself up to prosecution for lying to federal investigators. What he needs to appreciate is he's potentially incriminating himself for 18 U.S.C. 1001 or 1001 prosecution, said Friedrich, referring to the criminal law against making materially false statements to the federal government. Straka, the founder of the conservative #WalkAway campaign, did not attend Wednesday's hearing and was represented by his attorney. By this point, his case has largely been resolved. Back in September of 2021, he agreed to plead guilty to a misdemeanor charge of engaging in disorderly and disruptive conduct in the Capitol building or grounds. At sentencing, he avoided jail time and instead received 90 days of home confinement and 3 years probation. Wednesday's hearing was ostensibly focused on what is his problem with this guy, or what is he so upset about? Wait.
Christian conservative who showed up on that day not to protest. Let's talk about Brandon Straka. He never went in the building. He was on the other side of the building. There was a permitted protest. He walked up the stairs and he was yelling.
What is that? What does that have to do? It doesn't matter if you go in or outside of the building. I don't know why anybody would think that would matter. Like, if I break into your yard, is it okay as long as I don't go in your house?
They put this guy in prison. There is Owen Shroyer.
Damn, and he got hit with the special assessment of $10 to the clerk of the U.S. District Court. Whew! Where is the fuck? Is there a statement of offense anywhere? It says that there's one attached. Is this it? It's not just this, is it? Here. Straka flew to D.C. to speak at a rally protesting the election results on January 5th and January 6th during the Congress went session to certify the election results at the U.S. Capitol. And Vice President Pence intended to certify the election. Straka got off the metro on January 6, 2021. Sometime between 2 and 2:20, he then knowingly entered the restricted area at the U.S. Capitol grounds. While in the restricted area, knowing he was not authorized to be there, Straka observed the crowd yelling and U.S. Capitol Police trying to prevent people from going into the U.S. Capitol to manage the unruly crowd. Amongst other things, he engaged in disruptive conduct by participating along with them and yelling, "Go, go, go," to encourage others to enter the U.S. Capitol, while the U.S. Capitol Police were making their best efforts to prevent people from doing so. Straka also observed others yelling to take a U.S. Capitol Police officer's shield. He recorded a video of what was happening, and in the video, he chimed in with the crowd, saying, "Take it, take it." He did this between 2:30 and 2:45 p.m. on January 6th, while outside the entrance to the U.S. Capitol in the restricted area on the Capitol grounds. Straka left the U.S. Capitol approximately 3 p.m. Okay, so it sounds like he wasn't just fucking stumbling in. Okay. And also, this is just what he pled everything to, right? So it might not even necessarily be the full extent of what he did. Is there video of this?
The judge unseals documents behind the plea deal for a Nebraska man convicted for his role in the January 6th Capitol attack. KETV Investigates has been following the case of Brandon Straka, an Omaha native, for more than a year. A judge called Straka's role in the attack on the Capitol disturbing, saying he used his social media influence to encourage the actions of January 6th. But he was only given 3 months house arrest and a $5,000 fine. Now, thanks to documents from the Press Coalition, we're learning partly why. Records show after his arrest, he did 3 interviews with the FBI. As part of his cooperation, he forwarded 16 videos, contact information on 10 people, details on people inside.
And he snitched too. Oh, and he snitched. Oh.
Nancy Pelosi's office, and information on the organizers of the Stop the Steal movement. There's a status hearing next week about potentially releasing more sealed documents tied to this case.
Tim Pool defending a Fed. Oh no. Hold on. Oh. Okay. Let's see. What's the next claim?
Up the stairs and he was yelling. They put this guy in prison. There is Owen Shroyer, who was at a permanent rally, who was yelling death to communists. They put him in prison and specifically cited his speech.
Owen Shroyer, court listener. I need to get better at navigating the. Buy on Pacer. How can not one of his supporters or fans do 5 minutes of research to get all the information? How can he lie and no one says anything? Because you're not there to you're not there to get information. You're there to just feel good. A sentencing memorandum. Does anybody have a link to the charging document? No shot. This is not what he's referring to. Well, I'll find the charging document.
There was Owen Shroyer, who was at a permanent rally, who was yelling death to communists.
This is saying, he presciently warned in November 2020 that if Joe Biden became president, quote, it's not going to be a million peaceful marchers in D.C., end quote. And on January 6, 2021, Shroyer took a megaphone before leading a crowd into the Capitol, or to the Capitol, and then, quote, the Democrats are posing as communists, but we know what they really are. They're just tyrants. They're tyrants. And so today, on January 6th, we declare death to tyranny, death to tyrants, end quote. Feels a little different there, Chief.
Stop the steal! Stop the steal! God bless you and God bless America. Thank you all. I want to introduce someone very special. He's founder of a movement called Walk Away. Brandon Straka, come on up. Welcome to the revolution!
Revolution.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen, we have before us a revolution. My messaging today is not even so much to the Democratic Party. My message is not so much to the people who tried to steal this election. My message is to everyone, the news media, the Republicans, and the Democrats. I want them to know that the people of the United States of America are not going anywhere. We, ladies and gentlemen, are a problem for the media in this country. We are a problem for the Democrat Party. We are a problem for the rhinos who wanted to lay down and hand over this election to Joe Biden and the Democrats. Help me tell them right now, we're not going away. We're not going away. We're
This is
not
the
going
Straka
away.
guy or whatever?
We're not going away. You guys have a problem, a big problem, because the patriots of the United States of America are not going away. This problem is not going anywhere. We want free and fair elections. We want to know that we do not exist in an oligarchy that is controlled by the liberal media and controlled by the elites in Washington, D.C.
Maybe they've been honest the whole time. We just weren't paying attention. They don't want to be living in an oligarchy controlled by the media, controlled by the liberals, the DNC. So it's not that they're opposed to oligarchies. It's just when they're controlled by the liberal media, they're opposed to oligarchies. Maybe they've been honest the whole time, you know? What? Does he spell his name differently sometimes? Okay, so we've got unlawfully entered restricted grounds. That's count 1. On count 2, we've got knowingly with intent to impede and disrupt the orderly conduct of government business and official functions. Count 3, willfully and knowingly engage in count 4. Where is it? What is this about him saying communist? Where do they show up? What is he talking about?
They put him in prison and specifically cited his speech. My dude.
And specifically cited his speech. Is there like a conviction records for Owen Shroyer? Maybe it's the sentencing memorandum? Is that? Okay.
You don't know what you're talking about.
Ooh. Okay. The Hassan dude is chirping in Discord. I gave him my Discord if he wants to add me. All right, what else? 53 seconds.
And it's fine. I get it. We try to be polite. We try to be nice. But there are so many young liberals who sit here and say, the corporate press told me that these people are bad, and the machine state government has decreed it by pen. So I don't care what crime they committed. I don't care what the jury said. I don't care who was on the jury. Enrique Tarrio, who was not there, should be in prison for 2 decades. Tell me this now. Why is Enrique Tarrio in prison?
Oh, and he just realized that I'm not knowing because he fucking planned it, you fucking cuck. Did you read any part of the case? What are you talking about? It's literally all laid out there. He has no idea. He wasn't there. What does that matter? When you're being charged with conspiracy, you don't have to actually be there to do the fucking crime. What are you talking about? What do you think a conspiracy is?
Yeah, so they uncovered with him his plot to overthrow the government.
The plot was that he had literally documents that were laid out for buildings that they were supposed to occupy, for people that they were going to have on the ground, and he was the one that was in charge of coordinating the teams that broke into the fucking Capitol in all 3 breaches, and every single breach, from the first barricade to the second barricade to the actual window itself, they were Proud Boys. It was all part of Enrique's plan. It's all there in the fucking indictment. That's why he was convicted of seditious conspiracy. Luke doesn't know every single fucking fact on the fucking paper, so fucking Tim Pool's just going to scream random shit at him. It's all this is all a meme. Okay, sorry. Careful. Don't give a shit. We don't care. This is all a meme. My bad. Temple strategy.
Prison.
Yeah, so they uncovered with him his plot to overthrow the government.
Enrique Tarrio, is it?
Yeah, and his organization.
What plot? Who's they?
Oh, really? They? Oh, the Proud Boys? Really? Enrique Tarrio? What was his blood type? I bet you couldn't even draw his fingerprints, dipshit. Do you even know what color his eyes are?
Give me some
prosecutors.
Give me some fucking data.
Then go read a fucking court document, you retarded fuck. It's literally all public information. Holy shit, he's so fucking illiterate. He's not. No, he's not. I'm just kidding. It's intentional.
Stop squinting at me and saying the prosecutors did a thing. You didn't know. You didn't read it. You didn't read the court papers. All you know is the fascist machines.
You haven't read anything.
They told you he should be in prison, and you're saying yes to them.
This guy says he's ready whenever I am. He hasn't added me on Discord. This was supposed to be a Mimi interview.
Well, what was the Ayatollah Khomeini's role against Mossadegh in 53? He was part of a group of religious right-wingers who went out to protest and call him a commie. And they did, all kinds of things to frame up the commies and to drive a right-wing protest movement out in the streets to create pressure to overthrow Mossadegh. Now, no one would say that the...
What are your thoughts on the Iced Coffee Hour? I used to watch them, but I feel like now every guest they have is the latest conservative and they hardly push back. Their episode with Dave Rubin was pathetic. Every part of the internet just wants to fucking grift to the right because it's like where the audience is, I guess. It's just cucked as fuck.
Ayatollah Khomeini was nothing but a sock puppet with nothing but a sweaty gym sock for a brain. He was an individual human man doing what he wanted, which was also exactly what Kermit Roosevelt and the CIA wanted him to do too.
So listen, I don't know
See how
about,
that's what made the difference there.
I don't know anything about Kermit Roosevelt. Is that the professor, right? I don't know anything about the Ayatollah, but I will.
He was a frog.
I'm going to leave you with one last question.
Okay.
Tell me something. Just give me one thing that the Russians have done.
Stop. I don't care what channel he's in. He can add me on Discord and call me, okay? If he can't figure out how to do it, then we just don't talk, all right? Don't spam him trying to help the fucking retard figure out how Discord works. You add a person, and then you make a call. It's very simple. If you can't figure it out, then we don't talk. Fuck it. Jesus.
That's bad. They must have done something. I mean, we're nosing around in everybody's business. What have they done that's bad?
As I write in the book, they shouldn't have done this invasion.
I mean in terms of undermining, trying to destabilize, engineer a coup, something.
Well, since the fall of the Soviet Union?
Before or after?
Well, look, I mean, there's...
Since the fall of the Soviet Union, yeah.
They played real hardball over the EU agreement. They could have been more agreeable about...
What? This is like the killer question. Like, what's one... I like that asking Trump is like, what's one thing you disagree with Trump on? And they can't answer.
Well, since the fall of the Soviet Union?
Before or after? What have they done that's bad?
As I write in the book, they shouldn't have done this invasion.
Russians have done that's bad.
The question was...
I'm going to leave you with one last question.
Okay.
Tell me something. Just give me one thing that the Russians have done that's bad. They must have done something. I mean, we're nosing around in everybody's business. What have they done that's bad?
As I write in the book, they shouldn't have done this invasion.
I mean in terms of undermining, trying to destabilize, engineer a coup, something.
Well, since the fall of the Soviet Union?
Before or after?
Well, look, I mean, there's...
Have.
No,
right?
I
So
haven't.
you, so
People
no,
need to
stop,
talk
stop.
about-
Don't know any Mario. As a right wing, to be polite, we try to be nice, but there are so many young liberals who sit here and say the corporate press told me that these people are bad, and the machine state government has decreed it by pen. So I don't care what crime they.
I swear to God, not being bad faith, but why are you engaging in the identity politics at all when you just call him a white dude? Like, what's the point? Usually just to bully him because it's funny to bully people, and it's funny to be racist. But you can only be racist to white people. So in the few moments of my life when I can truly be racist, I embrace it.
Committed. I don't care what the jury said. I don't care who was on the jury. Enrique Tarrio, who was not there, should be in prison for 2 decades. Tell me this now. Why is Enrique Tarrio in prison?
Yeah, so they uncovered with him his plot to overthrow the government.
Enrique Tarrio?
Yeah, and his organization.
What plot? Who's they? Give me some
prosecutors.
Give me some fucking data. Stop squinting at me and saying the prosecutors did a thing. You didn't know. You didn't read it. You didn't read the court papers. All you know is the fascist machine state told you he should be in prison, and you're saying yes to them. Tell me why. Give me the data.
I understand that laws on the books have been there for a long time that I agree with, that if it's proven that you had a plan and you wanted to act on it, and then days after.
What's the proof?
The proof is
Say the
evidence brought
proof.
forward by
Don't
prosecutors.
ask. Say it.
Communications between.
What communications?
him
What did he
and
say?
the
What did he
Cowboys.
do?
Oh my God! Like, listen to this guy. This is also, they do this shit too when they invite you on the show, and I complained in the past, right, that they don't tell you the topics before you go on because Tim will needle you down to every. Really? How did he spell it there? Did he actually even capitalize the T on that fucking word? Do you remember if he was using punctuation? Really? I bet you can't even fucking tell me the emoji that he used. Like, holy shit, bro.
Is this serious?
Are you
Or
going to tell me
grandstanding?
why you think Enrique Tarrio should be in prison for 20 years, or are you going to say the government decreed it?
I just explained to you.
So the government said so. Is that it?
It's usually law enforcement, which I guess is part of the government.
Government said so?
Yep.
So
Law
you can't
enforcement
say why.
that uncovers evidence of communications, a memo that he crafted and sent to his organization.
Saying,
Oh, uh-oh. Oh, no. Uh-oh. Does Luke know details? Oh, no.
what?
That detailed each institution of government that they were going to try to overthrow.
This is the 1776 returns or whatever bullshit. This is the map thing that I was talking about. Yep.
Then just days later, his organization is at the Capitol.
And now Tim is fucking Googling. What a slimy, disgusting, subhuman, alien sniveling worm fuck. Can you hear the sounds of him sliming down his fucking chair as he starts pounding away at his fucking keyboard because he has literally no fucking idea what he's talking about?
His organization is at the Capitol.
I don't think we can even pull up Enrique Tarrio.
I'm not quite sure that there's any evidence.
What Luke should ask is, oh, how did they get, wait, hold on. Federal court in the U.S. is also cucked. I want videos. Yeah, okay. This wasn't, they didn't plea out anything. This is, they went to court and they were convicted on it, right? Yep. Is that the green room guy too? Yep.
Of that sort.
Yeah. You know what? I'll say this.
let me just pivot literally off of everything I just said completely. Hold on.
The idea that Enrique Tarrio crafted a memo
It's just
outlining,
conspiracy, okay.
or they,
He hasn't read any of the after he screamed at him, okay? After he screamed at him for not having read any of the court documents. He said that. Remember, right? Hold on.
we try to be nice, but there are so many young liberals who sit here and say, the corporate press told me that these people are bad, and the machine state government has decreed it by pen. So I don't care what crime they committed. I don't care what the jury said. I don't care who was on the jury. Enrique Tarrio, who was not there, should be in prison for 2 decades. Tell me this now. Why is Enrique Tarrio in prison?
Right?
Yeah, so they uncovered with him his plot to overthrow the
plot?
government.
Enrique Tarry's?
Yeah, and his organization.
There is Owen Shroyer, who was at a permanent. They put him in prison and specifically cited his speech. My dude, you don't know what you're talking about.
You don't know what you're
and
talking
it's
about?
fine. I get it. We try to be polite. We try to be nice. But there are so many young liberals who sit here and say the corporate press told who showed that
Where's
these
the-
people are bad, and the machine state government has decreed it by pen. So I don't care what crime they committed. I don't care what the jury right wing as a right wing group and a run of the mill Christian conservative who showed up on that day not to protest. Let's talk about Brandon. This is the ultimate problem. People are suffering because of it. Now you say that
It's coming up after Luke's first answer, is
sit
it?
here and say who was on the jury and prison for
They uncovered with him his plot to overthrow the
plot?
government.
Enrique Tarry's?
Yeah, and his organization.
what plot? Who's they? Give me some
Prosecutors.
Give me some fucking data. Stop squinting at me and saying the prosecutors did a thing. You didn't know. You didn't read it. You didn't read the court papers. You didn't know. You didn't read it. You didn't read the court papers. You didn't know. You didn't read it. You didn't read the court papers. You didn't know. You didn't read it. You didn't read the court papers. Witness
Wikipedia
evidence
time.
exhibits.
And then he goes to Wikipedia. These guys gonna call me a wiki warrior. Read the actual indictment. Just the indictment. You don't have to read anything else. Just read the fucking indictment.
Yeah. You know what? I'll say this. The idea that Enrique Tarrio crafted a memo
It's just
outlining,
conspiracy, okay.
or they,
Tim is discovering this live. Oh no. He's discovering it live. Tim had no, he hasn't even read the wiki on this. He hasn't even read the wiki. He's like, wait, oh shit. He's like, wait a second. Enrique Tarrio, he was just a guy who wasn't even at the Capitol, right? He must have gotten sentenced and convicted for 2 decades, I think for no reason, right? For 2 decades for no reason, right? It must have been, right? And he's like, whoa, he's like, shit, wait, what?
3 months, featured witness evidence, Richard Otario and co-defense included videos, thousands of messages in encrypted chat groups.
Ooh, did he say thousands of messages? Wait, what was that? Hold on.
Months, featured witness evidence, Richard Otario and co-defense included videos, thousands of messages in encrypted chat groups, as well as a public message on Parler. On or before January 6th, Tarrio convened a Ministry of Self-Defense to coordinate Proud Boys leadership on January 6th. The chat showed that Tarrio, stationed in Baltimore,
Oh, as well as public messages. Sorry, there weren't thousands. There were hundreds of them.
Mortel encouraged the Proud Boys as they attacked the Capitol. Let's figure out what that encouragement was.
How could you with so much audacity, screaming at somebody? He's screaming at him. And this is another reason why I get upset, because I've told you there are good criticisms for being a Wikipedia word. There's good criticisms for Wikipedia and only doing research off of Wikipedia. But nobody knows them because they don't actually do any research, right? Let alone Wikipedia research. So they don't even know the good criticisms, right? I would argue that this is one criticism of doing Wikipedia research, is that generally speaking, unless there's a seal or something, you should be able to find like public charging documents. Criminal law, and I'll do this, and we've read so much on stream. I hope you guys feel more confident like Googling, looking these up, okay? Criminal law in the United States is generally pretty simple. It's criminal law, okay? If you talk to people who go to law school or whatever, nobody's ever been like, oh, crim law, oh, it's the most complicated, oh, it's so impossible to understand. No, bullshit. It's like civil procedure, or it's like business or whatever. It's other like weirder shit like that. It's like criminal, it is supposed to be pretty simple, right? It's criminal stuff. You should know it. It impacts your rights probably more than any other section of the fucking legal code in terms of like what you can be deprived of, right? So most criminal law stuff is relatively simple. You can read it, you can understand it. You should be able to read a charging document and understand it. You can do that. So this guy is reading Wikipedia, which isn't bad, by the way, but now he's trying to figure out what's happened. So he clearly didn't even know. And now he's going to click through Wikipedia to read a news story on it. Just find the charging document.
Capitol. Let's figure out what that encouragement was. Are they going to actually say in the article? So here's a citation. Proud Boy and 3 other members of the far-right groups were convicted Thursday in a plot to attack the Capitol. A jury in Washington, D.C. found Tarrio and 3 lieutenants guilty of seditious conspiracy after hearing dozens of witnesses. Jurors cleared a 5th defendant, Dominic Pizzola, on a citizen charge and a significant milestone of the Justice Department.
Pizzola, by the way, is the guy that broke into the fucking window, was the first person to break into the Capitol. Oh, somebody emailed me a really good meme. So I said in the past that I generally don't like to make around stuff like this, that I'm actually pretty careful about like making public bets, because you can get fucked on like really stupid technicalities. And some guy emailed me. I think he said it's a good thing that you didn't make that bet about Pizzola being the first person to into the Capitol, because Pizzola broke into the Capitol first, but there was a guy next to him that jumped in before him. I don't know if that guy was a Proud Boy or not. He might have been, but I was like, oh shit.
Which is now secured a conspiracy, blah, blah, blah. They will never stop. Okay, that's interesting. Wikipedia asserts that they did this, but there's actually nothing in the news article that actually states that is true.
Like, the level of media and legal literacy here, this is shameful. Wikipedia asserts, well, it's a Wikipedia, bro. And it's...
They attacked the... actually say in the article. So here's a citation. That encouragement was.
Like...
are they going to actually say in the article? So here's a citation. Proud Boy and 3 other members of the far-right groups were convicted Thursday.
Convicted means that a jury felt beyond reasonable doubt that somebody did a crime, okay? But you don't even know I don't think he even knows what the charges are for the crime. You're definitely not going to see in a news article about a conviction particulars to the charging document. Why would you even expect to see this here?
In a plot to attack the Capitol, a jury in Washington, D.C. found Tarrio and 3 lieutenants guilty of seditious conspiracy after hearing dozens of witnesses. Jurors cleared a 5th defendant, Dominic Pizzola, on a citizen charge and a significant milestone of the Justice Department, which is now secured a conspiracy, blah, blah, blah. They will never stop. Okay, that's interesting. Wikipedia asserts that they did this, but there's actually nothing in the news article that actually states that is true.
Let's actually even look. What did the Wikipedia article even say that he clicked the link to? The Wikipedia thing said, the trial lasted more than 3 months and featured dozens of witnesses. Evidence introduced at that trial against Tarrio and his co-defendants included videos, thousands of messages, oh, I'm sorry, it was 1,000 messages, on encrypted group chats among Proud Boys leaderships, as well as public messages on Parler from both before and on January 6th. Tarrio had convened a Ministry of Self-Defense, or MOSD, to coordinate Proud Boys leadership on January 6th. The chat showed that Tarrio, stationed in a Baltimore hotel room, encouraged the Proud Boys as they attacked the Capitol. This is a link to a news article saying that they were convicted of these crimes. And this is the evidence that was presented at trial.
Attacked the Capitol. Let's figure out what that encouragement was.
You've definitely helped me feel more confident looking things up, which helped me realize how brazenly people lie online. Yes, you can look stuff up. You should rely more on your ability to read and interpret things. There is, I think because like everything in the world feels more complicated sometimes than it is, we don't ever flex that part of our brain. Fuck. Hold on. I'm trying to see if I can find a quote. Give me 2 seconds, 2 seconds, 2 seconds, 2 seconds. Wait. 5, 4, 3. Two. Fuck, I'm not gonna find it. Kill me. Fuck. You can read things on your own and form your own opinions. It feels like super difficult and super scary, but like if you just get into the habit of like reading things, stuff is a lot more simple than people think it is. It's not like everything is insanely convoluted and super complicated. Like you just read things and you'll, yeah.
Are they going to actually say in the article? So here's a citation. Proud Boy and 3 other members of the far-right groups were convicted Thursday in a plot to attack the Capitol. A jury in Washington, D.C. found Tarrio and 3 lieutenants guilty of seditious conspiracy after hearing dozens of witnesses. Jurors cleared a 5th defendant. They will never stop. Okay, that states that is true. Well, now we got a problem. Actually, nothing in the news article that actually states that is true. Well, now we got a problem. Let's try this again. Let's try a secondary source. Let's see. There it is.
I like how he uses word like a secondary source. You mean a second source? This has nothing to do with secondary, primary, tertiary, whatever. I'm being nitpicky, whatever.
They introduced evidence that Tarrio discussed with associates a plan to have a large crowd in Washington storm government buildings in a scheme they called 1776 Returns, in which the Winter Palace was used as an apparent code for the U.S. Capitol. In a message,
that's 1776 Returns. That's the document that Luke was referring to.
He said, make no mistake, we did this. Do what must be done, and he directed the Proud Boys to do it again. So the question then becomes...
Oh my God, he's gonna say something. I already know what he's gonna say. Oh God, it's gonna hurt. Oh, hold on. I need a health potion. I don't know if I have enough HP to tank the insanely fucking retarded thing that he's about to say. Okay, we're gonna open the door. In the next room, we have the uneducated novel monster, okay? The uneducated novel monster, what he does is he's a retard and he asks an incredibly basic question, but he assumes that he's the first person to ever ask it, okay? So the uneducated novel monster is a guy who reads a study that says, huge new medical report from The Lancet demonstrates that people who are short on sleep perform worse in school. And then the uneducated novel monster goes, I wonder if they controlled for socioeconomic variables, right? They always ask like the most basic bitch question in the universe, and they think that they're like they're being so profound, okay? I just did this whole thing, okay? And before he doesn't even say this, it sounds like what Tim is about to say is, now here's the real question. How do we even know any of that's true? How do we even know any of this is true? What's the evidence? It sounds like he's about to say that, but maybe he's not.
Do what must be done, and he directed the Proud Boys to do it again. So the question then becomes, in the bigger picture...
So are you going to at all acknowledge that you just blew up over something that I was absolutely citing fairly?
Okay, we might not ever get what he was going to say, because...
I don't think you cited it fairly.
I think people should be prosecuted for engaging in plans to overthrow a government. That's kind of
that's a very loose definition of plans to overthrow the government.
Well, he was convicted in front of a jury, bitch.
Y'all don't seem to be that informed.
Wait, look.
Oh, and you're not. You just is that your professional opinion as a media pundit? Is that your legal opinion as a legal scholar? Or is that your dipshit opinion as somebody who didn't even know the details of this until Timmy to the left of you read this off the Wikipedia article for you 20 seconds ago?
Respectfully, I cover a lot of protests and riots.
Respectfully, okay, as the guy at the end of this human centipede here, okay, who has the most rigorous digestive system because it's already been shot out of at least 2 people before I've had to extract nutrients and clout from it, okay? Let me tell you something, kid. Let's hear. What does this guy have to say?
Look, respectfully, I cover a lot of protests and riots.
And a lot of people. I cover so many protests. You'd be shocked at how many people get charged and convicted with seditious conspiracy in the United States. He's about to say, I know what he's about to say. He's about to say, I cover a lot of protests and riots, and there's a lot of fake charges against protesters.
A lot of people try to protest and riot and occupy government buildings. Do you think that qualifies as trying to,
Oh, it wasn't even stupid. They don't have plans to overthrow the government. Also, what is this comparison here?
Does it overthrow your government?
No.
Okay, good. So, I mean...
but if they had a plan to take control of the government, which was this one.
Yeah.
This was an actual plan. This was the leastly poorly... most.
I like how not a single... I'm done. Oh. Where's my Factorio? Is it installed? I just want you to think about the logistics here. I just want you to think about what's happening here. I just need you to understand, like, you have... What is Luke, like 20 years old? I'm sorry, he looks really young. You've got one guy, okay, and this kid was probably like 14 when January 6th happened, okay? Just to be clear, all right? I don't even know if this guy couldn't even drink. He's 22 years old. 22 years old. He's 22 years old, okay? And he's in a room with 4, 5 other people that sit here and do these stupid fucking shows every single day. And not a single one of these uneducated, subhuman, disgusting motherfucking Russian puppet treasonous fucks, not a single one of them even knows enough to give the bullshit counter arguments, let alone knows the actual facts of any of this. Like, and I don't even know if Luke knew that this was going to be the topic for today. And Luke's not even being that aggressive. And Luke hasn't even dived in. Luke just knows, I don't know how much he knows about all the things, but he just has like the most surface level, like, oh, like I read one news article about that, or maybe 2 or 3. I read 2 or 3 like 4-minute read news articles about this. And not a single person in this room can say anything? Not a single one? And this is after Timmy gave this whole performative blow up over it?
There was Owen Shroyer in prison, and specifically, and it's fine. The corporate press told me that these people are bad, and the machine state government has decreed it by pen. So I don't care what crime they committed. I don't care what the jury said. I don't care who was on the jury. Enrique Tarrio, who was not there, should be in prison for 2 decades. Tell me this now. Why is Enrique Tarrio in prison?
Yeah, so they uncovered with him his plot to overthrow the government.
Enrique Tarrio, is it?
Yeah, and his organization.
What plot? Who's they? Give me some
prosecutors.
Give me some fucking data. Stop squinting at me and saying the prosecutors did a thing. You didn't know. You didn't read it. You didn't read the court papers. All you know is the fascist machine state told you he should be in prison, and you're saying yes to them.
And not a single other person. They're all looking at each other like, yeah, right? Yeah, right? Not a single person here can counter what they just read in the Wikipedia article about this. The Wikipedia article. The wiki.
Returns, in which the Winter Palace was used as an apparent code for. In the bigger picture,
that's kind of
that's a very loose definition of plans to overthrow the government.
Also, sorry, hold on. Somebody said, Destiny, he's probably like 50% you or Josiah. He's pretty knowledgeable. I'm not trying to imply that Luke is like a random dipshit or whatever. Okay. Also, 50% me or Josiah. My guesstimate would be that Luke probably knows considerably more than me on a lot of domestic affairs stuff because he literally covers the news every day. Luke is a very knowledgeable person. I'm just making fun of just like on a macro perspective, the setup here. Like Luke is a knowledgeable guy on news. He covers it on his, I'm pretty sure on his YouTube channel, like every day or multiple times a day. It's just the setup here of all of these fucking conservative chud fucks, okay? All of these boot devourers in here, all right? that cover also this like conspiratorial nonsense, probably personal friends with a lot of these fucking losers that were actually convicted, right? That not a single person here can counter what he's saying.
Y'all don't seem to be that informed.
Wait, look, respectfully, I cover a lot of protests.
I like how this fucking retard is respectfully. Like he's about to shatter this guy's reality. Like he's about to destroy everything he's just said. Respectfully, sir. I cover a lot of stuff, and that's all I got.
Riots. A lot of people try to protest and riot and occupy government buildings. Do you think that qualifies as trying to, overthrow your government?
No.
Okay, good. So,
but if they had a plan to take control of the government, which was this one.
If this was an actual plan, this was the leastly poorly, most
over the government?
ridiculous plan ever. They went after people for having Lego sets of the Capitol. I mean, the level of political prosecution here, would you even admit that there was some level of politics when it came to the prosecution of the J6ers? Would you say politics played a...
Look at how weak that claim has gotten. How weak. Would you admit, we went from this whole thing was bullshit to, would you even admit that there was maybe a little bit of political prosecution for somebody involved in this?
Played a role in
I'm
this.
engaging with this as thoughtfully as possible, not trying to grandstand. Of course, often, for very justifiable reasons, prosecutors will try to make an example of someone who, for example, tried to overthrow the government to prevent the peaceful transfer of power. I see why such a thing,
personally, I reject
categorized as sedition,
to overthrow the government,
would be uniquely.
But that's literally what it was. Like,
bad to prosecutors and political in that this all involved politics, right? And thus,
I'm sorry, I have to say this.
Oh, hold on. Tim found what? Link me the full episode of this. Fuck me. This is gonna be painful. Just link it to me. Now I want to hear. It's there.
Prison for 20 years because you're a fat. You didn't read the court paper. Parlor.
Did overthrow your government?
No.
Okay, good. So,
but if they had a plan to take control of the government, which was this one.
If this was an actual plan, this was the leastly poorly, most
over the government?
ridiculous plan ever. They went after people for having Lego sets of the Capitol. I mean, the level of political prosecution here, would you even admit that there was some level of politics when it came to the prosecution of the J6ers? Would you say politics played a...
Of course, often, for very justifiable reasons, prosecutors will try to make an example of someone who, for example, tried to overthrow the government to prevent...
What's he referencing about the Lego thing? Probably some irrelevant, stupid fucking bullshit.
...the peaceful transfer of power. I see why such a thing...
Personally, I reject
categorized as sedition...
to overthrow the government.
No offense, sir, but why the fuck do you think you can have an opinion about this? No one cares. You knew nothing about this. You know nothing about this. So why would you even... You should probably shut the fuck up and just let Tim embarrass himself on his own.
Would be uniquely bad to prosecutors. And political in that this all involved politics, right? And thus...
I'm sorry, I have to say this. The Wikipedia article making those claims is not citing any actual proof that they said those things.
These people call me a wiki warrior.
Because we're harping on these.
He doesn't even know what to look for. The court they're literally convicted. Just look for the charging documents. Look for the cases. Enrique Tarrio, federal indictment. Like, we can see every single charge. They're even nice, and they even put it in parentheses afterwards. You don't have to go look it up, but you can Google every single charge as well. Like, you can. They're very, very, very simply written. Okay, indictments can be read. Criminal indictments. We're not talking complicated fucking tort. Okay, criminal indictments can be read by any person. They're very simple, very easy to follow. We can see messages. We can see what were they literally charged with. Oh, count 1, here's who it's talking about. Count 2, count 3. All of it is very easily and very simply listed. Why the fuck are you looking at a fucking Wikipedia for this? Unless you just want like an overview of what happened, but then being enraged when like.
These pardons are obviously an interesting political, constitutional quirk that presidents are able to do that. It really does undermine the law in our country. But Biden's getting a lot of pushback for clemency that he granted for the Cash for Kids judge who was responsible for sending something like 2,000 children into a Pennsylvania jail, a private prison that he was getting kickbacks for. Do you think that was worse than any pardon Donald Trump could give?
Holy shit. That's a pivot. And also my guess is if we look that up, he's probably not even citing it fairly, but.
To any January 6th rider?
Oh, and he's comparing, okay.
What?
Have you heard of this judge that Joe Biden granted clemency for?
True.
A judge who was responsible for sending thousands of teenagers to prison for, otherwise misdemeanor charges while he was getting kickbacks for. Joe Biden was getting a lot of pushback for this because
I've been agreeing with a lot.
So have you heard?
I'm not going to
make this guy specifically.
I've heard of that, but I'm not as read in on it as I should be to speak on it. But
I wonder if
I was more focused on just because it was the big story, and I wanted to again advocate principle his Hunter Biden pardon, which has been the topic of discussion pardon-wise for us mostly.
Yeah, it was funny because you were telling us a little bit pre-show that you actually had a first-hand experience with Hunter Biden. I don't know. Can you tell us anything about your experience firsthand with?
Yeah, just at the holiday party.
The myth, the legend. Yeah.
Yeah, I knew somebody at the White House who invited me to the White House party, the holiday party. Hunter Biden was there. I found it kind of strange.
I feel like
what was it? I'm sorry. What was his reception?
Right, dude. Who cares? There's that saying that if you're not liberal when you're young, you have no heart, and if you're not conservative when you're old, you have no head. But the interesting thing about it is like,
thanks, Churchill.
What we define as conservative or liberal are amorphous, right? So, like, what does it mean to be conservative? Who wants to try and explain what conservative is?
We're just moving on from this. God, I would feel this is like how humiliating. It's not. Never mind. Sorry. No. I'm sorry. I just had a really edgy joke pop into my head. All right.
Traditional, hierarchical, individualistic are the general ideals that it trends towards.
What does liberal mean?
Like Enlightenment ideas, vaguely, free speech, God.
And then why is it that the colloquial liberal are the authoritarians in this country?
Wow, what a deep question. This is some deep political shit. I'm so glad we like long form podcasts like this and not the lame stream media that just gives us like surface level takes and stupid fake news. But we can really get into the deep, nitty gritty, nuanced political discussions like about how all liberals are authoritarian based.
Because they're not liberals. Because Rush Limbaugh in the 90s ruined the word liberal.
Mm. So like,
I obviously disagree with that, but.
Well, so lockdowns. Let's try lockdowns. We'll start there.
Obviously authoritarian. Lockdowns that happened as Donald Trump was president, by the way. But
government lockdowns were largely a liberal phenomenon.
Well, initially it was right and left.
Initially, it was Trump
supported too
for 2 weeks, and then
it was more than 2 weeks.
No. The initial thing was 2 weeks to slow the spread.
Oh yeah,
and that was Trump who did that, and then it resulted in basically everybody locking down. But it was the right that ultimately started letting up, and so you ended up with
why? Like, remember that there's never ever there's never like a mistake. Nobody makes mistakes. It's always this malicious, like plotted, schemed thing to destroy the country. There's never like, well, maybe we shouldn't have locked down for too long. Maybe we shouldn't have done that. There's never mistakes. Always intentionally evil. Always. The whole world was intentionally evil too, by the way. And famously hard right countries like Australia, New Zealand, or whatever, like known for being hard right wing, you know. Oh no, wait, sorry, I fucked that up. They are left wing. That's why they were authoritarian. My bad. I was thinking authoritarian right wing, left wing, but yeah.
Vaccine mandates, mask mandates, which shifted largely into a liberal.
Yeah.
That's why I say left instead.
Agreed.
So that became the authoritarian faction. The left adopted that one.
But then, like, what do you say about
like
Trump?
That's authoritarian. Authoritarian is when lockdowns.
Talking about going after the media outlets he doesn't like, or
suing them. That's allowed.
Whenever he said.
So we're lockdowns, dude.
Trump talking about going after the media outlets he doesn't like, or
suing them. That's allowed.
Whenever he said.
So was the conviction of all the Proud Boys people too. That was allowed too. So was the federal indictments and the state charges and conviction in New York City of Donald Trump as well, or in New York. So is that?
Oh no, I know it's allowed. You agree though that like him saying the government, this was a quote on True Social you pulled up, should come down hard on MSNBC.
What's wrong with that?
This is a joke. It's political theater. This is a joke. This is a joke. It's a joke. What's wrong with that? Like in any authoritarian fucking media, I feel like that's got to be like the biggest fucking meme is like control of the media. Isn't that always the biggest meme? The V for Vendetta meme is that like all the media is state run in real life authoritarian regimes, like in Russia, the media is state run. In 1984, obviously is it Winston? Is that the main character? Works for the Ministry of Truth? I don't know how much of this I'm making up. But he like does like the media control, like Donald Trump says he wants to shut down media outlets to disagree with him. So what's wrong with that? So
quote on True Social.
So what? So what? He can't do that now? What?
True pulled up should come down hard on MSNBC.
What's wrong with that?
I'm going to use this one more. So I just need to use these tactics. So
that's fine to you. That's not authoritarian to me. Whenever presidents want to wield a governmental power to go after outlets they don't like their coverage of,
but we have laws though.
What do you think about Stephanopoulos?
We have laws? Like the ones the J6ers broke, like trespassing? But those laws don't matter? Or what about the ones that Donald Trump broke in New York? Or what about the federal ones that Donald Trump broke? Like those, like which laws matter?
Is defaming Donald Trump.
Well, let's not segue off of the question he just asked.
He didn't defame him.
So when
we'll love to talk about that, by the way.
When Trump says there are we have civil liability issues pertaining to defamation and the media, yeah, you sue them. And if the government is an aggrieved party through defamation, then they should sue them.
Yeah, I know y'all would be losing your.
It's. I take back what I said earlier about criminal stuff. There's no point in ever reading anything legal or anything about our government ever. What an infuriating thing. If you know anything about law or anything about the government, like how it's supposed to work, every single statement you hear is the dumbest statement in the universe.
The government is an aggrieved party through defamation, then.
The government is an aggrieved party through defamation? It's Donald Trump as an individual citizen is the person who's suing, not the government. It's not the U.S. government versus whatever. Can the U.S. government even sue for defamation? Does tort exist for governments? I don't even know the answer to that. Can governments in the United States sue for defamation? I don't even know. Yes, the U.S. government can. Oh, AI overview. What are they quoting? Don't ever trust the AI overview. Okay, can a government sue its citizens for libel? I want all the cookies. Seditious libel, maybe. Not in the U.S. No, sedition is citing against the government. On January 31st, 2018, an unprecedented defamation lawsuit was filed by the U.S. Navy and their corporate housing partner against a U.S. citizen and military spouse. They alleged that her statements about unsafe military housing conditions at U.S. bases were untrue and defamatory. Communications between both partners, which were released via FOIA, strongly suggest, if not state, this litigation was funded by the U.S. Navy or U.S. taxpayers. Thus, evidence against the U.S. Navy and agencies of the federal government sued a citizen and military spouse for alleged defamation. Case number is here. It was litigated in Hawaii District Court. However, they pursued a prior claim against her and also fought her appeal in the Ninth Circuit, which was ruled on this. Fucking hiccups. Okay, I don't know what the answer to this is. I'm not sure. Isn't the purpose of the First Amendment explicitly for the government not to persecute speech in this manner? I'm not sure. I truly don't know the answer to that. I don't know if governments even do it, but...
And they should sue them.
Yeah, I know y'all would be losing your absolute mind if Biden was out saying the media, like Fox News.
Oh, he's stepping into the trap. Because remember, every horrible thing conservatives want to do now, they're going to say, oh no, they're already doing that. Or he's going to say they already control all the media anyway. Let's hear it.
Out saying the media, like Fox News,
I wouldn't be.
Criminals.
I assure you a lot of Trump supporters would be.
Fox News.
100%. Yeah.
And
oh, okay, never mind.
Yeah,
so
I wouldn't be.
That's an authoritarian impulse.
Wait, I wouldn't be.
No, y'all would be losing your absolute mind if Biden was out saying the media, like Fox News,
I wouldn't be.
Criminals.
I assure you a lot of Trump supporters would.
Wait, why wouldn't you care if Biden was saying that? I also don't believe you. I don't believe him there.
Fox News.
100%. Yeah.
And
yeah,
so
I wouldn't be.
That's an authoritarian impulse to want to punish not outlets that I don't even know what the justification would be, but it's all about people who have wronged him. And if you disagree with that, I think you're obviously staring in the face
I'm not
of facts
saying
and
that
going,
aggrieved parties should have no recourse, be it the government or otherwise. So if the federal government is lied about by the New York Times...
So you think Ann Seltzer deserves to be drained of her funds by Donald Trump?
I never said I agree with that.
Right, so he's doing it to...
He's allowed to file a civil lawsuit.
He's allowed legally.
Why is he saying he's allowed? Like, almost anybody can sue anybody at almost any time for anything. Like, do we morally agree with it? Also, he's allowed as the president of the United States. You're in a pretty special position there. Like, we should probably think about the implications of that. Oh, President Donald Trump, a private citizen who also happens to be the president of the United States, is suing me for defamation. That's kind of spooky.
I'm saying it can
it's a personal
you can act in an authoritarian manner.
Okay, well, this is very different from taking people's jobs away unless they get a medication.
Pretty sure I don't even think that went through, right? Pretty sure the Supreme Court shut that down, so that didn't even go through, but okay.
Well, yeah, those were the individual jobs. The jobs were doing that.
Under government mandate. Biden issued a mandate that a company
He's never said... Biden issued a mandate? I thought those were just for federal jobs. And I don't even think it survived the federal job thing.
Companies with more than 100 employees had to do it.
Or
tried to use OSHA to make it happen.
Or masking. It was always an option. You were never forced.
Well,
they tried to use OSHA to make it.
Yeah, they required that if you had more than 100 employees, you were forced to issue vaccine mandates.
Or masks.
Sure, pick one.
Yeah.
The government forced every company to do this.
Yeah, and the government has all sorts of mandates for safety. And
OSHA has no authority to do anything like that, and the Supreme Court found it. Agreed.
Listen. I'm totally fine if this is your argument. That's fine.
I'm just saying that
if you think that filing a defamation lawsuit is comparable to the government mandating everybody engage in a medical practice.
There's nothing more authoritarian than saying we should terminate the Constitution because
when did he say that?
Election lies.
How do you not know anything about what Donald Trump has said? They never know anything. The one guy, the guy with all the oh no. I was gonna say the guy with the shoes in the background. Tim has them too. Oh, the shoes. Are those, wait, maybe those are different shoes? You remember the guy I debated with the Trump shoes in the background? Who had knew all this stuff about all the evil, horrible things that Biden and Hunter and all these, and I was like, what about like this thing? What about like the elector plot thing? What about like when Trump said that the media was enemy, and he's like, oh, I've never heard about that. What about when Trump said the media was the enemy of people? I don't know about that. I don't know anything about this. I don't know anything about this. Literally fucking doing promo videos of the shoes. Do you think I got paid for this?
Pulled up on True Social, the MSNBC comment. He talked about.
We went over this one with Cenk on the term of the Constitution. And
Look, Luke covers all this new shit. He sees all this, right? I think he's bringing up almost like every example I would bring up.
And I'll give.
Yeah, don't defend that. It's just It's just like you don't. The Constitution shouldn't be terminated.
He didn't say that.
He didn't say that. He said that in searching for voter fraud, you could take extreme measures, like even suspending the Constitution. How else are you supposed to read that? Can somebody tell me why Google wouldn't return this as the fucking top result? Is Truth Social not archived by Google? Hello? Oh, it was on Twitter too? Oh, nice. U.S. President, by the way. United States of America President, by the way. Don't worry, we'll get there. We'll find it eventually. We will find the original Truth Social post. Truth Social, Donald Trump, voter fraud, Constitution. Like, how is Truth Social not archived on... I know there's a way to search by URL, but... So with the revelation of massive and widespread fraud and deception and working closely with big tech companies, the DNC and the Democrat Party, do you throw the presidential election results of 2020 out and declare the rightful winner? Or do you have a new election? A massive fraud of this type and magnitude allows for the termination of all rules, regulations, and articles, even those found in the Constitution. Our great founders did not want and would not condone false and fraudulent elections. That's an insane statement. How is Tim going to defend this?
We went over this one with Cenk on the term of the Constitution, and I'll give.
Yeah, don't defend that. It's just It's just like you don't. The Constitution shouldn't be terminated.
He didn't say that.
Pull it up, please.
Yes, pull it up, please. Yes.
Massive fraud of this type of magnitude allows for the termination of all rules, regulations.
We went over this with Cenk, and I know that you guys have a tribal reason why you're going to oppose. You're not going to.
Tribal reason? You do have a tribal reason. The tribe is called being a U.S. citizen. You grifty, hacky, Russian-paid stooge, propagandist fuck.
I think there's just few things that are so succinctly an embodiment of someone's lack of dedication to our Constitution. So
let me ask you a question.
Him thinking Ann Seltzer.
Let me ask you a question. If I said, here is him trying to, like, as egregiously as possible, misquote something that might be related to like a COVID policy. Here we go. The overturning of Roe v. Wade allows for women to be put in bonnets and red dresses and forced to be impregnated. Am I calling for them to be?
Yeah, you're alluding to that being, yeah.
So when the Democrats literally said that, you were saying,
that's the argument?
So you agree that the Democrats want to put women in bonnets?
No.
What? Trump wasn't making an analogy. Trump wasn't making an allegory. Trump wasn't comparing it to something else. Trump was literally saying a thing. The Handmaid's Tale is not a real story. You know that's not like nonfiction. That's not a real thing, right?
Oh, I understand that you can both make an argument that we live in some dystopian...
Like, there's an interesting saying hyperbole is bad, which is stupid, versus we should suspend parts of the Constitution.
In reality, where this is the case.
So here's my point.
Trump earlier...
Are we going back to this, or did he actually escape that? Please bring this Truth Social message up on screen. Please don't let him escape this.
The message was talking about overturning the election. He was saying he would be the one by the mechanism terminating the Constitution.
So this
overturn the election results.
I'd call this the Covington effect. When was that the Covington kids?
And he doesn't even bring up the Truth Social. But okay, this is not anywhere remotely close to the Covington thing. But okay.
Or the Sandman effect. Trump said, do you throw the presidential election results of 2020 out and declare the rightful winner, or do you have a new election? A massive fraud of this type and magnitude allows for the termination of all rules, regulations, and articles, even those found in the Constitution. Our great founders did not want and would not condone false and fraudulent elections. I'll give you, we talked with Cenk about this a couple weeks ago.
Please tell me, please.
Yeah.
Are you saying he wasn't obviously saying that we've gone so far because of his lies? You agreed those were lies.
What lies?
About the election.
Dominion. Oh, that's an easy. That's a layup. Layup. Whoosh.
Which ones?
How millions of votes and Dominion was flipping and all these things.
Yes.
Did Trump explicitly say Dominion flipped votes?
It came from his campaign. And yes, on January 6th, yes, on Donald Trump, January 6th, transcript, ellipse, speech. Read his speech. Control F. Dominion. In addition, there is a highly troubling matter of Dominion voting systems. In one Michigan county alone, 6,000 votes were switched from Trump to Biden, and the same systems are used in the majority of states in our country. Senator William Ligon, blah, 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 our elections, writing a letter describing his concerns with Dominion in Georgia. He wrote, and I quote, the Dominion voting machines employed in Fulton County. So yes, Donald Trump literally said this. He literally said this right before they went and rioted into the Capitol. Right? Yes, he did say this.
Yes.
Then that's not true. Yeah, that was wrong.
Okay.
Good for you, Tim. Okay. He just had to get all the way to a hyper-specific example and a specific, okay.
Well, there's a difference between being wrong and lying. And
just remember when I just said this? Remember like 5 minutes ago on the stream when I'm like, notice how you can never just get things wrong? You're always doing something evil? Because if the Democrats like locked down for too long, that wasn't a mistake. That was an intentionally evil thing. But when Donald Trump tells a lie, he's been told that thing is a lie by basically every single fucking person around him. Every single like investigation into this is determined that it's a lie. Not any part of this is even remotely true. And he's even in the Jack Smith indictment saying he mutes the phone and he says that, not Liz Cheney. He says that, the crazy lady, Sidney Powell, she sounds like what, somebody from Star Trek? He was just wrong. That wasn't a lie.
Yes.
Then that's not true. Yeah, that was wrong.
Okay.
Well, there's a difference between being wrong and lying. And I'm not here to assert that I can read anyone's mind.
Okay,
but you can confidently, God, I hate that mind reading argument. Really? You wouldn't try to ascertain the mind state of any single person ever in the history of all of whatever kind? Like, okay, then you need to shut the fuck up about all the homeless people on the buses because you don't know if they're going to be violent or not. What, you can't tell their state of mind. These guys might not even be homeless. They could just be performers. You know, maybe they want to live a life. Maybe it's just some dude like freaking out. He took a little bit too much LSD. He's just running around, right? You have no idea, right? Why would you make an assumption? Don't try to read their state of mind.
But there were times that the people around him heard him say, like, can you believe I lost to this guy?
Who said that?
Oh my God. Tim, who knows nothing about any of this, is like pushing for names, dates, quotes. Who was he quoted to have said that to? Was it Milley during the transition? I think it was Woodward who reported on this, right? Donald Trump said he lost the election to... Fuck. Who was it to? I don't remember who it was exactly. I remember we read it, but...
I mean, come on, like, dude, you're making a lot of statements of fact, and I'm asking you just be like, hey, like, who claimed?
Okay,
Trump?
You're making a lot of statements of fact. I'm just asking for basic things, like who was the exact person that Trump said this thing to at this one date, at this one claim? Like, bro, you're pushing this guy on so much information on a topic that he probably didn't even know this episode was going to be about. Well, you've been materially wrong in broad fucking strokes. Like, the quiz is like, Luke Beasley, can you tell me the exact composition of like the mantle of the planet Earth in terms of like how much rock versus whatever materials you find? And you need to get this right to have this conversation. And then the question for Tim Pool is like, what planet in the solar system do humans live on? And Tim Pool answers like the sun. And he's like, well, it's the same thing. And he's like, it's such a difference in expectation here. This is like a microcosm for our entire media environment, where it's like, what is Tim expected to know? Literally nothing. He's Wikipediaing things that he should be looking for court docs for. He's getting frustrated and upset that he can't find out what somebody was charged for in a media article about a conviction. And then he's looking for evidence and strong evidence on Wikipedia, and he has no idea about it. And he's like, for Luke, come on, bro. You're going to give me a thing that Donald Trump said that sounds fully believable, by the way, and it's consistent with all his character, because you can't remember the exact name of the person that he said this to 5 years ago? Really, dude?
Fine. He accidentally made a bunch of false statements, and it led to
he lies.
terrible
I
things.
think Trump lies a lot.
Now, even if you thought the election was unfair, trying to do the fake elector scheme, all those things, none of it's justifiable.
This is
so authoritarian.
Scott Adams
it's
calls
so
this.
authoritarian.
Scott Adams, another lunatic, another actual psycho individual.
Right. Scott Adams calls this, what is it, one screen, two movies effect?
That's shot. Yeah.
I don't even know what the fuck that means, but everything that Scott Adams says is actual fucking deranged lunacy. Oh, what? Two different people look at the same thing and they come to a different conclusion? Cartoonist Scott Adams is also a trained hypnotist. From observing human bias, he created the concept of one. Okay, I'm good on that. I don't even know.
You're shocking. That's crazy.
I mean, I
don't think we're allowed to. I mean,
oh, who the fuck is this guy? How many conservatives did they have to roll up for this kid? Holy shit. Jesus, they had to bring out like all 47 Ronin warriors to counteract Luke Beasley making simple claims about reality?
with the masking, that wasn't an option, though, wasn't it? Just like you had to get the vaccine. I don't remember.
You couldn't even go get food. But in this regard,
I don't think, by the way, not that it matters, I don't even know if under the strongest version of the proposed vaccine mandate, I don't even know if the strongest version required the vaccine. I thought it also would accept if you got like tested every 2 weeks or something, no? I could be wrong on that. I have to go and check.
This is a really, really great example of the one screen, two movies. Now, I have no problem saying
Excuse me, what's the second movie? One screen, two movies? What's the second movie? What else? How else could you possibly read into this?
Totally understand why you believe what you believe, right? I also think that this country is deeply pitted against, it's two factions that are deeply pitted against each other that can't actually understand the phenomenon at play. That is, nowhere in that statement did Trump say, we must terminate the Constitution.
Oh my God. Like, apply this standard to any statement he's ever made about any Democrat ever, please. Like, what?
You interpret it as such. That's it. Yeah. Constitution.
Like, should we throw out the results or should we have a new election? That's what he's asking. And he's saying that we can throw out the Constitution in order to make this happen. Like, but what a I don't even want to say autistic, because it's not autistic. It's like an intentionally dishonest.
You interpret it as such. That's it.
Yeah, that's.
Does it say we must terminate the Constitution?
Bending over backwards way.
Does it say
actually, the reason
that's just a different interpretation.
It's not.
Crazy.
It's not.
It's
You
not
don't say
crazy
the election.
Bending over backwards. You're putting the.
You don't
context
say
of it.
false statements about the election, and then say we should do something that's not constitutional, which is throw an election out.
Like, this is not freedom of speech. This is like just bad faith, malicious, leech, slug fucking behavior. Like, these people are parasites on the country, and they're parasites on the media, and they're stealing money, right? How could you be mad at a healthcare CEO, all right, when Tim Pool kills so many more people than United ever could, and probably gets paid 3 times as much for it?
Months and months after it happened, and then go, by the way,
It was a question. It was phrased as a question.
Hold on.
It was a question. Do you think if Biden tweeted out, should we kill everybody in MAGA? Do you think they would have the same, like, well, you're just asking. You're just asking. You're just asking, bro.
This is actually really simple. In the context you are presenting, Trump is saying, I believe there was a massive fraud against me. Mm-hmm. The founding fathers would not have wanted this. This fraud they have committed allows for all of the rules to be thrown out.
That's not true. by the way.
He is not saying we must terminate the Constitution. He's saying Democrats already did.
How? What? Even if you do commit fraud, is every time you commit a crime, have you destroyed the Constitution?
Right. That you can make that
agree
argument.
that's not an argument I made up. This is literally what conservatives believe.
You're saying that's your interpretation. I'm saying
It's not my interpretation.
Well, then what's your interpretation?
I am telling you
what is your interpretation then? Take a stance on it.
Trump issued a statement that all rules and regulations, including those in the Constitution, can be overturned in the event that there is a massive fraud.
Does Trump believe there's a massive fraud? Did he say it over and over and over again?
Okay, thank you. Well, we agree then. That's crazy and authoritarian. Because he was lying about the fraud, and he's lying about the mechanisms by which you address fraud.
You just reasserted that you can read his mind when Tim was saying no.
I don't know if you guys are aware of this or not, okay? So in philosophy, there's a term called qualia, right? Which is like what a thing is like, or how, like sense data, basically, okay? You can't actually communicate. You can't communicate a thought, and you can't communicate a feeling to any person ever about anything. You actually truly can't. If somebody asks you to describe what soft means, or if somebody asks you to describe the color blue, or if somebody asks you to describe how you feel about anything, no, you can't transmit it. You just can't do it. We don't have a way to hook our brains up to each other. So we've invented something as humans called language. What language allows us to do is we can speak words, and the other person can hear the words, and we can agree on words that we can map onto certain meanings, so that when I say a word, you can get an idea of what's in my mind. At the end of the day, I'm being a little bit reductive, but at the end of the day, everything we do is mind reading, because you can never truly know what exists in another person's brain ever. If you want to get super fucking cringe about it, you don't even technically know if other people are conscious, right? If you want to go fucking solipsistic with it. But like, if I read a person's statements and they seem to logically lead to a certain thing, am I mind reading, or am I just engaging in language? Like, this is just what language is.
You address fraud.
You just reasserted that you can read his mind when Tim was saying no.
Oh, yeah.
Read his
if
mind.
One guy thinks an election was unfair and can't present that in the places where you have to present it to get an election overturned, courts, then yes, I think false statement, whatever, it's ridiculous and it's dangerous is the important point. So I think if we want to go through instances where we feel like either side has done authoritarian things, we could do that. But it's wild that y'all are so willing to speak out about what you perceive to be authoritarianism on the left with no understanding of the chief authoritarian crime you could do.
Like, what is the authoritarian hardcore statements on the left?
Is trying to prevent the key part of our democratic process, which is the peaceful transfer of power.
So please, somebody say we're not a democracy or a republic.
Could do is trying to prevent the key part of our democratic process, which is the peaceful transfer of power.
So chief authoritarian crime you could do is kill someone without due process, but we won't get into that one tonight.
That was Obama.
That's the chief authoritarian crime, is to kill somebody without due process. So every single time an American citizen is killed because of an altercation with, say, like a police officer, all of that's all authoritarian? What a clueless, fucking stupid statement. Okay.
That's right.
Yeah. The point here is, when we're trying to logically understand what is going on, because
What the fuck is even authoritarian? I guess if the president was running around killing people, for what reason though? Like,
clearly it's not so easy to say Trump is evil, Trump is good. There's two different factions in this country. Trump won the popular mandate. Therefore, you could argue, I guess the public thinks Trump is good. In that case, the public interpretation of this in the majority is that Trump wasn't calling for the termination of the Constitution.
you think the public is voting on the Jesus Christ. For somebody in YouTube chat said this, I'm stealing this. For a group of people who are so critical of postmodernists, these guys sure do have a postmodern interpretation of epistemology in terms of how they ascertain like what is real or what isn't real or what is true or what isn't true. It's very vibes based. Like I feel like it's a very like subjective and relative interpretation of what could be true at any point in time. It's a very postmodern interpretation of like the world that we live in, to say that like, well, if enough people voted for this guy, then that must mean that these different reality things like become true and real because these people at this point in time, you know, subjectively determined it to be the case. Not to mention the fact that when did Trump make this Truth Social post? Wait, hold on. Okay, in 2022. Because I was going to say, you could say that, well, the American public actually voted for Biden after Trump, so that wouldn't even make sense. But, like, obviously, when you're voting on a candidate, you're not voting because you agree with every single statement they've ever made at all points in time ever, right? But
his faction won the
almost every
vote.
person I've talked to doesn't know that.
Doesn't know what? That what he said?
Yeah, no, people don't know that he's threatened media outlets like he has. He's talked about
Threaten them with what? Come on.
calling them criminals would be bad.
Why?
Because
cares about authoritarianism, doesn't care when the president of the United States is accusing the media of being criminal. What are we doing here?
because fostering an environment where people who, for the singular reason that they speak out against you politically, which they're allowed to do, are criminals. That's the only thing he would cite, is that they've said terrible things about him. And then going further to say the government should get involved in punishing them. And then to show his willingness to, even before he takes office, with him as a much more resourced person, trying to punish ABC, which we could talk about that was ridiculous that they decided to bend the knee there, and then Ann Seltzer for doing a poll that was wrong.
But that's a private.
The Seltzer thing is insane. I understand. Oh my God, there's such a good criticism to be made of capitalism on the Disney stuff. I understand why Disney settled, and it was probably correct for them to do so, but...
Him as a much more resourced person trying to punish ABC, which we could talk about that was ridiculous that they decided to bend the knee there, and then Ann Seltzer for doing a poll that was wrong.
But that's a private lawsuit.
Yeah, and he's doing that for a purpose.
That's a private lawsuit, dog? Was it a private action when Donald Trump called Georgia and was begging them for fucking votes? Was it a private action when Giuliani called Ukraine then? Are you going to concede that those were... Because those were actually private actions, by the way.
Purpose. So? Which I don't like.
I sued Kamala Harris.
So?
And he's doing that for a purpose.
So?
Which I don't like.
I sued Kamala Harris.
You're not a president. You're suing the president. What is the comparison? What is the comparison here?
Awesome. I'm saying I don't like whenever presidents wield their official governmental power or...
But it's private.
Power,
it's not government power.
Or
no, when he says that they should be arrested or that what they've done is criminal. Criminal is not as a private citizen. Criminal is the government.
Their power of their massive megaphone, understanding he's about to have governmental power to threaten people who speak out against him.
There was no guarantee that he was going to have governmental power.
No, he's doing the suit now.
Yeah.
He's doing the ABC, or the ABC was before.
When it was going on, but it was going on
Seltzer,
prior to him winning, though.
No, Ann Seltzer, he just brought the suit.
He did.
Do you think the feeling is like when you're like a kid and you're sitting, you get like, oh, I want to sit at the grown-ups table, and then you sit there and you're like, fuck, this is actually way more boring than I thought it'd be because I don't know what anybody's talking about. Like, who are these other random like even Tim is retarded, but like you've got even more retarded retards around Tim. When Tim is doing this playing dumb role, it's 100% intentional, or is it a bit of brain rot as well? No, this is intentional. You give as much leeway to your set as possible to make your viewers feel good about it because this is who you're supporting literally no matter what, and then you be as critical of the other side as possible. This is intentional. This is partisan hackery.
To threaten people who speak out against him.
There was no guarantee that he was going to have governmental power.
No, he's doing the suit now.
Yeah.
He's doing the ABC, or the ABC was before.
When it was going on,
but
it was going on prior to him winning, though.
No, Ann Seltzer, he just brought the suit.
He did. I think it's a stupid lawsuit, but it's a private lawsuit, so I don't care.
It's a stupid lawsuit. We're not talking about if things are stupid or not. That one Palestinian kid did this. This is a debate bro tactic also, by the way. This is an actual debate bro tactic, right? Do you think that it was right when John beat the shit out of Susie? I would never hit my wife. Okay, wait, you want a fucking cookie? Do you think it's illegal when somebody steals from a gas station? I would always pay when I go to the gas station. Okay. You want the Medal of Honor? Like, it's like non-responsive garbage that's just designed to say something that's true, but it's not responsive at all to like what's being asserted or asked.
He did. I think it's a stupid lawsuit, but it's a private lawsuit, so I don't care.
Like, why can Trump be stupid sometimes and never malicious, but Democrats are always malicious? Like, couldn't it have been stupid to do lockdowns for too long? Why was that evil?
What you think? Yeah, I think stupid. So I'm not gonna ask you. I was about to ask you.
Like, why? Like, I don't know. Like, Trump could sue whoever he wants. I don't know.
He said that the government should rip CBS off the air, ABC off the air.
Like, Luke has so many examples. This is like so embarrassing. Tim is being like fucking brutally rooted by this kid, okay? The fucking doggy destruction that is being wrought on this fucking like beanie-headed, disgusting dipshit it's just like beatdown after beatdown after beatdown after beatdown. Like, bro, what the fuck? He is just like holy shit, it's so cringe. Like, he can't edge out a single W on any of these points. And every time he tries to like mine harder and harder on the Luke side, he just has like another example, another fact, another quote, another more egregious like breach of whatever from
whoever he wants. I don't know.
He said that the government should rip CBS off the air, ABC off the air.
Do you know why he says
he was lying about what happened in a couple
Because CBS edited the interview.
They edit every interview?
No.
They edited his interview too.
They edited 2 different versions, and when they got a bad reaction,
Why would that mean you rip something off the air? This is standard practice for all of them, and the full interview was even posted online. You're gonna rip somebody's media license away for that?
Changed her answer. That's very different.
No, they played one.
That actually
one was an
that
extended
actually
version,
is.
and the other was for morning, like the CBS mornings.
She gave a different answer.
No. I watched the full unedited thing. She gives a kind of, and then
either way, the argument is not that Trump.
Well, don't say something false. Then either way,
no.
True.
No.
It's not true.
I'm saying that is true. They issued 2 different versions.
She gave a longer answer, and the first like half of it was a little bit more. There was a lack of succinct.
So there's 2 different versions. Are there 2 different versions?
No, it's one answer that then they only took one part of. Like
Are there 2 videos that are different from each other of the answer?
Yeah, there was a trailer on Twitter, and then there was a longer form cut that they released on their channel, and then they also released the whole unedited thing.
And like a version, like because they can't play the entire interview on CBS Mornings when they're advertising for it.
We're trying to get to the
wait. Okay,
so every single edit now is illegal. Like if I do a 45-minute interview, I can't show a 1-minute clip because it's edited. Like,
whenever I keep it specific, when I play a Tim Pool clip,
be specific, be specific, be specific. He says while not having any information about literally any of the subjects that have been brought up for the entire past 20 minutes of this fucking show.
And I go, hey, I was on Tim Pool. Here's 10 seconds of it. The full thing's on Tim Pool's channel. Like they
be specific. We're talking about Kamala Harris.
Please
don't talk about me.
Try.
Go back to Kamala Harris.
I'm trying to illustrate a point.
You're meandering.
That they on CBS Mornings aren't going to play the full interview. So they played a more succinct
I'm not
portion.
arguing that. I'm trying to
I don't
ask
think
you,
Trump pulling off CBS off the air because they did what they have a right to do, which is editing interviews. He's not president.
He's threatening them.
Yeah.
And you think that as president, he can pull them off the air?
I think him saying it is proof of his authoritarian intentions, whether or not he's competent enough to get it done.
So if a news outlet does selectively edit for political reasons, that actually already is grounds for suspension of a broadcast license.
You would be hard-pressed to prove there was a political motivation.
Then you agree Trump's not going to be able to do it.
And I don't think Trump
So because somebody's not able to... Oh, then you don't have any problem with the OSHA lockdowns then. Can you please walk all that back? Now you'd say, oh, okay. So you're totally okay with all the Biden forced vaccine lockdown stuff because the Supreme Court threw it out, so he's not able to do it, right? So you're fine with that, right? All that is cool, right? You don't care because he wasn't able to do it, right?
Should be running around saying if you edit things in the way that I don't like, if you say things I don't like, I don't even know what his case against MSNBC would be, but if you speak out against me politically, then I'm going to add you to a list. He recently said yes to Brian Glenn asking about social media influencers. And while, of course, you have a legal right to sue, there's that and the fear he's trying to induce by bringing such bogus lawsuits, like the ABC one, bogus.
Against George Stephanopoulos?
Yeah.
But Stephanopoulos was wrong.
He was, in a legal sense, wrong, but we all agree, the judge clarified that in common parlance, rape is the way we describe.
But Stephanopoulos, the jury said it.
Right, and so you would have to prove, but you agree Trump never could.
Oh, no, I don't know if either of them have read Disney's rationale for this. I don't even know if it was published in time.
Would have won that case, right?
He would have. That's why they settled.
No.
Wait, why are we able to read Stephanopoulos' state of mind here? How could the actual malice standard even exist? How could I know somebody acted with actual malice? How could we ever read somebody's state of mind?
Rape is the way we describe.
But Stephanopoulos, the jury said it.
Right, and so you would have to prove. But you agree Trump never could have won that case, right?
He would have. That's why they settled.
No. They said.
Like Tim knows better. That's just a total point blank fucking lie. That's just a total lie when he says that. The reason why you settle is because you know you'll lose the lawsuit. So if I go look at any of the lawsuits Trump settled, he's going to agree that, oh, he settled because he knew he was going to lose. I guarantee you that if we were to go through his content, that he's probably given a more nuanced explanation of settlements when Trump has settled a lawsuit.
Bob Iger,
because they're afraid of him, and they know that he could drag this sucker on forever.
I've been involved in a lot of lawsuits. Getting past motion to dismiss and defamation is extremely difficult and happens in like 1/10,000.
Given our free speech rights,
getting past a motion to dismiss and defamation is extremely difficult. What does he mean by that? Wait, what?
Because they're afraid of him, and they know that he could drag this sucker on forever.
I've been involved in a lot of lawsuits. Getting past motion to dismiss and defamation is extremely difficult and happens in like 1/10,000.
Given our free speech,
As in, like, to successfully dismiss a case? Or is he saying the opposite? My assumption would be that it's probably quite difficult to dismiss a defamation case because as long as they said the thing, it's going to be up to a jury to determine whether or not it was defamatory. I don't know if he's agreeing with what I just said or if he's saying the opposite.
rights and the fact that you have to prove damages, you agree for that. Our free speech rights and the fact that you have to prove damages.
Wait, I'm sorry, hold on.
Thousands.
Given our free speech rights and the fact that you have to prove damages, you agree for that.
You don't. That's defamation per se. You don't.
Yeah, so he's fucking lying. How the fuck do you know what defamation per se is, but you're like curiously ignorant on every other part of the settlement? Like, no, Tim knows. He's intentionally fucking lying, right? For defamation per se, the damage is so severe, you don't even have to prove damages. They're assumed that you've suffered some kind of harm. There's no way that you know something like this without also knowing that, like, just because you settle a suit doesn't mean you're going to win or lose.
I don't know what you're talking about.
But why do you care about free speech?
Oh, and now that he's stumbled onto one area that he might have more knowledge on for Luke, one area. And by the way, his whole argument in the whole is even wrong, despite him having this knowledge. Well, he's lying, I guess. So I shouldn't say he's wrong because he's being intentionally wrong because he's trying to tell a lie. Now that he's doing this one thing, oh boy, does he want to hit on this? Oh man, okay. How much does Luke not know about the particulars of defamation suits that we can try and focus on? Okay.
Whoa. Defamation per se, you are wrong, okay? You don't know what you're talking about.
It's not a question. He's just so excited that he has one fact. He has one thing. He's got one thing.
You don't have to prove that someone knowingly said something? Okay. All right.
You were plumb wrong.
You don't have to prove that someone knowingly said something? Okay.
Okay. Never mind. Maybe Tim just doesn't know anything. What Luke is referring to is called the actual malice standard that came from New York Times v. Sullivan that says that when a public figure is trying to sue somebody for defamation, they've got to prove that that person acted with actual malice. It's not enough to say they reported an incorrect fact. They had to be acting with like reckless disregard for the truth or being willfully like incorrect. That's what Luke is referencing. Defamation, the two categories are like per quad or per se. If I say like you've defamed me because you said that in my business, the toilets that we sell don't flush well, and they do flush well, well, that's a defamatory statement. If I go to court, I have to be able to show damages, right? I've got to be able to say, look, I was selling, 50,000 toilets per year. This guy said that my toilets don't flush well, and now I only sold 10,000 toilets this year. So I'm going to try to make the argument to the jury that 40,000 of these, I would have sold 40,000 toilets. Now I'm suing for damages, right? If something is defamatory per se, and I say something like, oh, that guy, he rapes kids. There are types of statements that are so egregious that I think you would say it's statutory damages are awarded. It's just assumed. Like that's such a crazy, horrible thing to say about somebody. It's such a defamatory statement that you don't have to prove damages at that point. You're going to be awarded some damages, and then you could also argue for damages on top of that. But defamation per se has nothing to do with actual malice. These are not related whatsoever. So Tim is not even correct on this.
Talking about.
You don't have to prove that someone knowingly said something? Okay. All right.
You were plumb wrong. This instance, accusing someone of rape is called defamation per se. So when George Stephanopoulos had been previously warned on multiple occasions, ABC News did, Trump's legal team sent letters saying, this is not rape. The jury did not say rape. Do not say this on TV. That's why when they were approaching motion to dismiss, their lawyers decided we need to settle this and give Trump what he wants.
They could never prove.
I don't think that's what Disney's lawyers said at all. Also, by the way, if they really truly knew that he had defamed this man, the president of the United States or president-elect, in such an egregious manner to accuse him of being a rapist when they knew it was wrong, you really think he's settling that suit for $15 million? That's it? Really? $15 million?
Never. That he was saying something false enough, given that the judge, it wasn't like some judge. Yeah, look at the judge clarified that rape is what he was found liable of.
But George Stephanopoulos said the jury said this.
I understand, and the jury found him liable of
something. The jury did not say this.
That pundits
so defamation per se is different from defamation.
I'm just saying the judge.
No, defamation per se is not different from defamation. It's just there's just like different types of awards for different types of defamatory statements. What was that? Was this on Westlaw that we saw? I think it's just these two subcategories, right? Oh, good one. Is it just per se and per quad is like what you'd ordinarily talk about? These are like the two different types of defamatory statements you can make. So like the defamatory statement or implication that requires additional explanation, interpretation, or extrinsic evidence to prove how harmful to the plaintiff's reputation. Defamation per quad usually requires a plaintiff to establish damages resulting from the defamatory statement, right? So you've got to show that like because he made this statement, these are like the damages that I've suffered that I want compensation for, right? And these are where compensatory awards come in. Defamation per se is when the statement is such that the law presumes harm to the injured party. You don't have to prove it. You don't have to prove specific damages. Jurisdictions typically designate specific categories of statements as defamatory per se. Also, I didn't even know if this would qualify as defamation per se, by the way. Because if you were to just accuse somebody, it's per quod. Oh, sorry, okay. If you were to accuse somebody of being a rapist outright, I feel like that might qualify for defamation per se. It feels like it would. I don't know the individual jurisdictions. But to say that like a jury said that you were a sexual assaulter rather than a rapist, I'm not sure if that like the distinguishing there would matter so much that it would automatically assume like statutory damages. Would these be, am I correct in saying that these would be like statutory awards or? But they're not like different.
And the jury did not say this.
That pundits
so defamation per se is different from defamation.
I'm just saying the judge.
I'll teach you.
No, the judge clarified.
So George Stephanopoulos said the judge said Trump committed this rape. I'm paraphrasing, and he said the jury said this. The judge said this. Yeah. The jury did not say this. There's defamation and there's defamation per se. Defamation is to say something that's false. And with the Times v. Sullivan, you need to have acted with actual malice, meaning you knew what you were saying was false, or you acted with reckless disregard for the truth. Under that, you can make the argument that Trump's not going to win. However, this is defamation per se.
Okay, I'm sorry. This is why I don't do law shit. It's just fucking retarded. He just like inadvertently exposed that Trump probably wouldn't have won this case. So he is correct in saying that
the Times v. Sullivan, you need to have acted with actual malice, meaning
that only applies to cases against public figures, right? That's only to public figures.
You knew what you were saying was false, or you acted with reckless disregard for the truth. Under that, you can make the argument that Trump's not going to win. However,
that's why I don't think Trump would have won. Could you really have proven that Stephanopoulos was acting with actual malice here? I don't think so. But they weren't thinking about whether or not they'd win or lose the case. Disney was thinking about how much harm they would suffer as a brand, which makes more sense.
However, this is defamation per se, which doesn't require these. It doesn't require damages, and it doesn't require you to act with malice. It only requires that you said something so damaging to a person as if to accuse them.
Or I don't know, maybe, hold on, can we look this up? Is it, if you make a defamatory per se statement about a public figure, do you no longer need actual malice? Because if so, I'm about to sue like 400 people. Defamation per se, public figures. Where's Pisco at? I've never heard this before. Okay, I don't think this is true. I've never heard this in my life. The fact that he can't even cite it correctly and he keeps mixing up the actual malice standard with also defamation per se leads me to believe he doesn't know either. So
damages, and it doesn't require you to act with malice. It only requires that you said something so damaging to a person as if to accuse them of an egregious crime, a sexual crime, or having an infectious disease, that you actually bypass those precedents.
You don't bypass anything. It's just a different type of damage that you're arguing for to the court. The standards of proof and everything, my understanding, is all going to be exactly the same. It's going to be exactly the same. This just has to do with like the type of award you'd be granted at the end.
In this regard, it was actually rather surprising to see how quickly ABC folded. And for $16 million is no joke. They're going to build a museum for Trump. That's the weirdest thing about it. And Stephan
16 million is no joke to Disney and Donald Trump.
Stephanopoulos and ABC both had to pay Trump $1 million. I have been in probably 10 defamation suits. And
you don't know any of these terms? You don't know anything about defamation?
Me and me targeting others. And they never go anywhere. They're impossible. In this regard, George Stephanopoulos had been previously warned, as it's been reported, and he made a false statement about what the jury asserted. Trump wins.
Yeah, the judge clarified that what the jury...
Anywhere they're targeted to me and me targeting others, and they never go anywhere. They're impossible.
Yeah, because most people, one, probably don't even file them. And two, because defamation as public figures is really, really, really difficult.
In this regard, George Stephanopoulos had been previously warned, as it's been reported, and he made a false statement about what the jury asserted. Trump wins.
Yeah, the judge clarified that what the jury found him liable of, I don't know if we're going to get to resolution on this, but what he was found liable of can be described as rape, even if what they
do believe
technically. Do I believe the
E. Jean Carroll story?
Yeah.
You really do? Come on.
It doesn't matter if you believe it or not. That's what they found him civilly liable for. And of course, he doesn't believe in any of it.
I don't know why she would have witnesses that she called immediately after.
How did she get in the room?
How did she get in the room?
How did she get in the dressing room?
Oh, and now we're gonna play this game again. Oof. Lucas, he got through the J6 stuff. I don't know. He probably covered this. Did Luke have a YouTube channel when all the court case stuff came down? It's so fucking annoying that Tim will like fucking drill down on the most retardedly precise things. Like when the Arbery, who's the guy that got killed by the 3 weird white truck dudes? And he was talking to me, he was like, the guy had his hiking boots on and not his jogging shoes. I don't fucking know. I was like, okay, I don't know. He's like, he was 22 miles from the place. He was actually only 1 mile from his house. Like, fuck, I don't know. I don't remember every fucking fact of this case.
Bergdorf Goodman locks the dressing rooms.
I'm assuming get in the room.
How did she get in the dressing room? Bergdorf Goodman locks the dressing rooms.
I'm assuming it was open.
No, they don't know. It wasn't answered. They said, we don't know. It doesn't make sense. How is she?
It doesn't make sense that somebody could have gotten into a room that's locked sometimes. Wait, Tim didn't even go through this fucking defamation case? He literally did this for Twitter memes? We read this stupid fucking complaint by Tim Pool because he was ass-paying about them tweeting out a clip of his thing when he filed a lawsuit against the Harris campaign. Complaint colorized. He failed to provide color photos instead of black and white. No other changes were made. Other document response. One complaint filed by Tim Pool. Verification of attorney admission. Other document. Proposed summons. Service of motion for leave to appear pro hack. Vice motion for pro hack vice admission by Tim Pool. Attachments 1. Attachments 2. Oh, fuck, I don't know what this means. Motion for leave to appear pro hack. Vice? What does this mean? A pro hack vice appearance. Does this just mean your lawyer can go instead of you? An attorney who is a member in good standing of the bar of the United States court or of the highest court of any state or territory insular possession of the United States, but is not admitted to practice upon admission, filed and served by co-counsel, admitted, be permitted to appear and participate in a particular case. Okay, so an out-of-jurisdiction attorney. Stipulation extending time to answer or otherwise respond to complaint by Harris for president. Okay, so they submitted something to give them more time to complain, I guess. Okay. Stipulation extending time. Okay, and then November they filed another extension. Proposed order re-stipulation by, okay. Proposed order. What is this? This matter is before the court upon the parties' stipulation to extend the time to answer, otherwise respond to the complaint to and the court, having considered the stipulation, other appropriate matters of record, concludes the discussion that the good cause exists to grant the stipulation to extend the, okay, still the same thing? Okay, stipulation is granted. Granted. All right. Notice of appearance by Anthony J. Magistro on behalf of Parish President. Order on motion for later to appear and paperless order. Notice of appearance. Paperless order. Upon review and consideration of the motion for leave to appear, the court finds that counsel certified they submitted the required fee with the application, yet there is no docket entry noting such payment to the clerk of court. Accordingly, the motion is denied without prejudice. Any subsequent motion must comply with this. Wait, who didn't pay a fee? Hold on. Upon review and consideration of the motion for leave to appear pro hac, fine. The court finds that the counsel certified they submitted the required fee with the application. There is no docket entry noting such payment. Motion for leave. So by Tim Pool. Okay, so they didn't pay the fee for this? Okay. Order signed by District Judge Gina blah, blah, blah. Okay. Second motion for leave to appear pro hac vice by Tim Pool. Okay. So hopefully they paid this one. Pro hac filing fee, $200. Receipt for this. Okay. And then order granting pro hac vice admission signed by just, okay. And then notice by Tim Pool, notice of dismissal with prejudice. With prejudice means that you can't bring the same issue to a court again. Wait, did they dismiss their own case or what? Why? Hold on. I hereby certify on November 19th, 2024, I electronically filed the foregoing notice of dismissal with prejudice with the clerk of court using the scheme. I hereby certify that I've emailed the notice of dismissal with prejudice to the following non-certified participants. So this was literally a meme. That's... Am I misreading this? So they filed this case so that he could tweet the picture. They waited for a response from Harris's campaign. Did the Harris campaign even respond with anything? They must have responded. They need to respond with something, right? Or of appearance. Is this appearance going to have a... I don't think I have a... Who has a Pacer account? So what? The Harris attorney showed up? And then they dismissed their case? Is it ordinary? I don't know the normal rules. Is it ordinary that you would dismiss your own case with prejudice? Or maybe that's an order. Maybe that's normal. Okay, Rule 41A1 of the Federal Rules of Civil Rules. How we gupping today? Are we gupping or are we gupping? How did taps go? Honestly, I was pretty disappointed. So I decided to bring Sam Hyde. It's like a meme, and they didn't even let me in the building. No, I'm just kidding. I thought it went actually pretty fun. I thought it was a pretty funny show. Did he troll you? No, I think it was just like an ordinary... It was just a normal show. I think he just got way too mindful. Was Nick on? No, he just sits in the audience. I will say it was kind of funny that one of the guys there was apparently a big fan of me, and apparently Nick has been like doing a lot to like set the studio up and everything. It's like, he was like, yeah, all that camera and audio that you're doing on your stream, yeah, we've been doing that too. I was like, nice. Also, I will say those T9 drives was the answer. Thank God. I recorded for like 9 hours on those bad boys. Easy. They format, no overheating. Oh. Perfecto. Did you get the show with 2 chairs? Yeah, I got the 2 chairs show. Tyler, why do you keep spamming the same shit? What do you want? Folks on Dev Hour mentioned that they got into Obsidian because of you. They said they'd be open having it. What is Dev Hour? Dev Hour, YouTube. Are you sick? No, I just woke up like 23 minutes ago. So I decided to put on my little gut voice, my Hasanabi real life. Hey guys, what's up? I like to do political activism. Good one. Someone on Pod Save America and CNN. I haven't watched either one yet. Oh my God. You've got 3 minutes. Go.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so you... Fuck. Let me make this straight. Okay, so how did it go? You recorded for that long? No frame drops and nothing?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. I will admit, I'm very surprised that worked, but good for you. Good for you. I'll take the L. I'll take the L because I'm a man, and I'll take it.
Okay.
Where do we go from here? So you're going to use the 6K?
Everything else works fine. I don't know what else. There is nowhere else to go from here. I don't know what.
Okay.
Nothing else was wrong. It was just finding a drive. I don't know where else. But that's okay. You got 2 minutes and 15 seconds left.
Wait, why am I under a time limit?
Because I don't know why. Because we have nothing to talk about. I don't know. I don't want to spend 12 hours.
I just want to know how it went. I just wanted to know how it went. I was willing to admit when I was wrong. I'm still very surprised that shit worked.
Okay.
But I guess I just wanted to publicly say you were right. Congrats. I'm glad you got it all worked out. Would still love to work on that studio sometime. And sorry for yelling.
Wow.
That's all I got.
Okay. I love you. Be careful.
Love you too.
Wow. Darius messaged me and asked, "Is this worth?" I don't know what any computer stuff is worth these days. Wait, a 4070 Super and a 1400F for $1,300? Is this? This seems like a really good deal, no? Well, all right. What are we watching first today? How long is this? 2 hours. Oh, I don't know if I could do it. I tried to watch Bro, I'm getting blackballed by Lonerbox H3 comments. All you gotta do is be attractive and you win. It's more than that. There's it's the dynamic that I pointed out before. I mean, I can point it out as much as I want, but I don't know what the point is of, or what it even does. The issue is that if you're not politically aligned with any communities, then you have no large community that just by default has your back. And since we're not politically aligned with any communities, if you're anywhere in my orbit, basically it's free reign to just go off hard on you. And that's basically what Lonerbox is now experiencing, because Lonerbox is no longer with the left 100% on the crazy far leftist shit. So now he's fucked. Yeah, it's it's annoying. The goal is the goal is always attack the out group basically.
That represents the Shi'i community of Lebanon. It started out.
Watch Lonerbox? I'm okay. But for anyone who thinks I'm a self-hating Arab or anything like that, y'all can watch him. And then come back to me, and then tell me how much you hate me.
Out as a social service organization, actually an ambulance corps.
He called Loner Box a genocide supporter. Yeah, I mean, like, that's basically how it goes. Yeah, you're either with them 100% or you're against 100%, yeah. Yeah, I tried watching some of that Janksgiving, and it was... I think I turned on Justical Stream like 3 times. And every single time I turned it on, Hassan was saying the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. And it was like, it was agonizing to listen to. Holy shit.
You know, Hassan's on like he's just on a big level. Here's the other thing with Hassan. He's unreasonably good looking and like cool and dresses cool.
Tell me about it.
But do you know what I mean? Like Hassan would be an influencer no matter what he was saying because he is
hot,
very attractive and very cool and genuinely a good person too. I will say, like, Hassan is actually a cool, fun, good person.
Jesus. So cool, so fun, such a good person, yeah. Is there not validity to this? No. Hassan wouldn't make it in any kind of like not the most popular kind of like media sphere apparatus thing or whatever, because he can't handle the haters or whatever. You can already see where like it bothers him a lot when he doesn't have like 100% of the narrative on his side or whatever. I mean, obviously like being attractive and everything helps for sure, but like on a personal psychological level, I don't think he'd be able to handle not being in the majority opinion on something. You know how much I hate watching you lately, way more than usual. Yeah, I don't know if it's because I was picking up more viewers or because there's nothing else to talk about, or I have no idea, I don't know.
Welcome to Pod Save America. I'm John Lovett, and guest hosting with me today is the massively popular streamer leftist dumbass himself. You just self-described.
That's okay, sure, fair. I say himbo, but damn.
Okay. Hassan Piker, welcome back.
It's good to be back. Thank you for having me.
After my conversation with Hassan, you'll hear my conversation with Seth Moulton. We talked about the Democratic Party. We talked about the controversy over his comments around trans athletes. Also on the feed right now, you can hear Dan's conversation with Jen O'Malley Dillon, Quentin Fulks, David Plouffe, and Stephanie Cutter about what went wrong in the Harris campaign. We're having a bunch of conversations about what we learned from the election, where we go from here, with a bunch of different voices, one of which is here today. People are mad that we talked to the Harris campaign. People are mad we're talking to you. People are mad, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But let's start with this.
It's a big tent.
It's a big tent. It's a big tent. All right.
Dick Cheney in it.
It's got Dick Cheney in it. It's got Hassan Piker in it.
Yeah.
It's got Dan Osborne in it. It's got Seth Moulton in it.
Yes. He's not in the tent. I don't know why you would say that, but God, fuck. It's so. This is how I'm trying to think of the comparison. Like when adults try to like talk about video games, or when like mainstream media tries to like 4channel is a place where B-tard posters post anon, crazy wacky. It's like people have no concept of the space, like try to talk about it, and it's like, oh my God, it's so fucking cringe. Like Lil Bro's not in the tent. He's not a Democrat. He's not even a liberal. He's a fucking leftist. Like, oh God.
Cheney in it. It's got Hassan Piker in it.
Yeah.
It's got Dan Osborne in it. It's got Seth Moulton in it.
Yeah. You know, tent shouldn't maybe feature Dick Cheney in it, but everybody else I can have a conversation with.
Great. All right. Now look, the main pastime on the left, other than being mad for the last few weeks, is everyone saying how right they were all along about Democrats being out of touch and bound to lose.
Arrest me. Sorry. So I sat at this chair. Well, maybe not at this chair, but I had the offline interview with John. I think a month before the election, and a lot of the concerns that I brought up to him, it seemingly came across as somewhat prescient, where people went back to the footage, and I've been seeing comments that were rather positive about, like, okay, he said a lot of stuff there that was objectively correct seeming.
Yeah, I want to talk about one aspect of that.
Is that somebody? I saw somebody post on the subreddit that it's not even true that he said that he thought Kamala was going to win. I don't even know if I don't have the link to it, but
which is that you were saying, others were saying that, hey, like Trump going on Rogan, Trump going on Theo Von, like something is happening here, and we need to understand it. We need to address it. It's real. And I remember, like, my experience.
I still, however, maintain the position until this day, and I still maintain this position that Kamala Harris will most likely win the election come tomorrow. And this is not just me looking at the polls, even though, of course, I have looked at the polls this entire time, but also looking at the vibes. I don't just do poll analysis. I do polls plus vibes.
Like, it's so... Dude, I can't live in this world. It's boring. The problem is that it's boring to me. Like, all the fact gathering and all the research and the reading, everything, like, none of it matters because you just go on and, like, I can't say anything because I'm trying to talk to these people. I don't even want to. It's just so lazy. Like, what value do you bring to the world? You're not even willing to do, like, the most basic level of research. I don't know, man. Drive through. Anyway, so now we get to listen to how much of like a fortune teller Hassan is, despite the fact that he was just as wrong as anybody else. Where's is this a clip or is this isn't that like a watchful? Oh, it says this.
Why do I do this? Well, the reason why I do polls plus vibes is because polls alone are not going to be enough. Okay. I have, however, learned something that's a little bit scary today, this morning. I've told you guys already, I have like a bunch of people that I talk to, normies in general. I have some high propensity voters, mid propensity voters, and low propensity voters in a place like California. And I look to who they vote for and how they vote as well, because I just want to kind of see like, a focus group basically. And my low propensity voter did vote for Donald Trump, which was shocking. And I don't know if it's because I basically kept asking him over and over again if he was going to go out and vote or not. But my low propensity conspiracy theory guy who loves RFK did actually end up voting. And that kind of shocked me a little bit. That kind of worried me a little bit because this is fucking California. It doesn't mean California's going to flip, obviously. Chat, this does not mean California's going to flip red. That's fucking idiotic. I'm not making that argument at all. But what it means is, even in a place where someone who is not likely to go out and vote at all, where his vote is not even going to fucking matter at all, he found time out of his day to go out and vote, even though he has never gone out and voted before. That to me is a little troublesome. I haven't really seen this anywhere else in the data, but that still scares me regardless. Okay? So, having said that, however, I think that the fundamentals are on Kamala Harris's side still. Okay? I think that I have no faith that low propensity voters won't vote for Trump. Is bizarre, but he is rallying the RFK supporters. Well, now that I've talked about the Kamala Harris side of things and what I consider to be like not great campaigning, for example, I think that she focused far too much on trying to win over the white suburban mothers, and you can win them over. No one is saying don't try to win them over, but the way to win them over is supposed to be a delicate balance where you're not hemorrhaging your base of support, because you cannot let the urban pop fall apart. Okay, you cannot let the urban population, black voters, brown voters, young voters in general, voters in college, students and the like, not come out and vote for you because they are just like too bored and too grossed out by, or too depressed to go out and vote because they just constantly hear you hugging and kissing the likes of Liz Cheney, or saying you're going to have a Republican in your cabinet. It's not good. Okay, it is not good. She needs white women. I understand that. I'm not against that, but there's a way to do that. While
just one thing that's very hard for people to understand is just how disconnected, how disconnected the ordinary American population is from our political sphere. And when I say I think that sometimes you guys think that disconnected means that, they don't know about the exact specifics of some Supreme Court case, or of January 6th, or of the Afghanistan pullout being in, how that was negotiated. When I say disconnect, I mean probably 50+% of the American population doesn't know the difference between Iraq and Afghanistan. Or 20% of Americans would probably think that Turkey is in Africa, or 30 to 50% of Americans probably didn't even know that January 6th was associated with an election thing. They thought it was just a protest turned riot in Washington, D.C. maybe, or it's that level of disconnect. The idea that Cheney had some huge depression on voting for Kamala or whatever, 50+% of Americans probably wouldn't even be able to tell you what Dick Cheney's role in government was. There's zero chance that there's that in Hassan's world, there's these Hispanics out there oh, essay, you hear about Cheney? Yeah, man, I hate that dude. Not voting for Kamala now. Absolutely, hombre, bro. Yeah, it's such a cringe. It's I'm a leftist, and these are the things that I care about, and I'm going to tell you why poor black voters didn't vote, and it's because they don't like the war machine and the military-industrial complex that was headed by people like Dick Cheney. Little bro, nobody in these populations, nobody's in these cohorts are thinking about this or talking about this or even know anything about this. It's it's so stupid.
While simultaneously still communicating objectively popular policies to.
But anyway, let's hear about how Hassan got it perfectly right.
Happening here, and we need to understand it. We need to address it. It's real. And I remember my experience. It's seared in my mind of Trump being on Joe Rogan because of how my path of understanding it. Because what I saw first were a bunch of people taking clips and saying, "Wow, Rogan really didn't like Trump. Trump is a mess on this show. He comes across terribly. Rogan was like kind of giving Trump space to hang himself rhetorically. And then I watch it and like, Trump did fucking great in this interview.
Yeah, he's very telegenic. That's the thing that like a lot of.
It's the thing that bothers me too is that like Trump. First of all, Trump did not do great at that interview. If you like Trump, you'll leave that interview liking Trump. If you don't like Trump, for all the reasons you don't like Trump, you'll leave that interview like not liking Trump. Unless I missed something because I had to turn it off. I only made it like halfway through. Maybe in the last hour, maybe he does significantly better. Which is possible, I admit. I'll tell you, I didn't watch the entire thing. I'm not gonna lie. I could only do halfway through because it was so cringe. He couldn't answer a single fucking question about anything. It was the cringiest thing I've ever seen in my life. So maybe in the last hour, maybe he does significantly better. So I'll hedge that, I guess, if you've watched it yourself. But yeah, it's just so funny because like I'm curious if I see these Pod Save America guys talking about like Biden's debate performance, are they gonna be like, oh God, it was a train wreck, it was a disaster, and then you watch like Trump, drunkenly stumble his way through the 50th Glazer podcast. Wow, Trump's actually he's actually pretty telegenic here. He actually did like a pretty decent job here. Like, did he actually or okay?
Rhetorically, and then I watch it and like, Trump did fucking great in this interview.
Yeah, he's very telegenic. That's the thing that like a lot of people, I guess, refuse to factor in for some weird reason is that, yeah, he definitely rambles on. He likes to call it the weave. And even Joe Rogan made fun of him for that a little bit in the process. But like, there is something to be said about a relatively telegenic person who is able to portray himself as, I like to call it honestly dishonest, where like everybody knows he's a bit of a scumbag.
I like to call it honestly dishonest. God damn, that's such an ingenious what an ingenious way to put that. I wonder if that was ever a thing. I wonder if that was ever like one of the most popular
And I'm watching the news now. They're declaring the end of the Trump era. Now, okay, I can see how in New York you might believe this is the end of his era. I'm just being honest with you. I live in Ohio amongst the poor whites. A lot of you don't understand why Trump was so popular, but I get it because I hear it every day. He's very loved. And the reason he's loved is because people in Ohio have never seen somebody like him. He's what I call an honest liar. Well, I'm not joking right now. He's an honest liar. That first debate.
What an original take. Good one.
Who is able to portray himself as, I like to call it honestly dishonest, where like everybody knows he's a bit of a scumbag, but he's your scumbag. And he's able to get that across to a lot of people. And I don't think that there is really anyone with that level of television presence on the Democratic Party front. I think like the most skilled orator in the Democratic Party's ranks in the last couple of decades was obviously Barack Obama. And outside of that, I think like in a lot of instances, purely from optics point of view, Democrats track is like technocratic, elitist, too serious about everything that they talk about. And there's certainly a lot of that on the Republican Party side as well. And we've seen failed initiatives from establishment Republicans that tried to recreate the Trump phenomenon with the likes of Ron DeSantis, and that was a massive failure. But ultimately, I think this goes beyond podcasts. This is something that I've been talking about quite frequently. I know the podcast thing is like the most, like that's the one that got everyone's attention. But I said this on CNN last night that you can't really podcast your way out of this problem. Like having, there was that one tweet saying like, oh, we just got to have 100 Pod Save Americans, but they all have to look like Hassan. Like that's not how this works.
Oh, you think that one tweet might have been wrong? But yeah, like I guess, so I agree with that. It became the couple kind of like, I don't know, like just have had this devastating loss to Trump, and everybody's looking for these sort of little explanations that all feel like they just feel silly. Like, oh, we need a Joe Rogan of the left, and even saying like I don't even want to talk about how stupid that is anymore because even that has become stupid. But I do agree that like people are like, oh well, she should have gone on Rogan. All right, yeah, sure, I think so too.
That would not have changed the outcome of this election.
There's a larger problem to what you're getting at, which is like why don't we have figures and where like we think they would do great on that show, and why is someone like Joe Rogan now who was 4 years ago open to Bernie now suddenly open to Trump? Like that's the deeper problem.
Yeah, these are better questions. That's true.
Like you look at like successful Democratic messengers or progressive messengers over the last like decades, and you think, all right, well, Bill Clinton obviously was successful and he like ran against the Democratic Party in some way. Barack Obama did the same thing. Bernie does the same thing. AOC does the same thing. I'm not talking about on policy.
You don't mean it like also in the same direction of running against?
No, but running against the establishment in some way. And just saying, and the reason I connect them is because they all did something which is demonstrated that they were not part of the Democratic establishment, both like on policy and rhetorically, right? Like that's what they all did. And I'm just wondering like what? Like on policy, something which is demonstrated that they were not part of the Democratic establishment, both like on policy and rhetorically, right? Like that's what they all did. And I'm just wondering like what, like the one place where like I know you like find, there's a place where there's like kind of an alignment of like the Seth Moulton critique of the Democratic Party and the lefty critique of the Democratic Party, which is just like, it's fucking annoying and like kind of I don't know, pedantic in some way.
It's an incorrect interpretation, an incorrect autopsy to look back at a thing that the Democratic Party did not do at all and then say it's actually that reason. It's not anything that we did so far. It's not that we tacked to the right over and over again, despite people like myself and many others saying, like, don't do this. You're going to hemorrhage the base. You're going to hemorrhage the base of support. You are going to cut away at your turnout. You're going to cut across many different constituencies that you rely on to create an effective coalition. And it's a very dangerous gamble to assume that you can decouple a lot of these people in the suburbs, a lot of like white women specifically, away from the Republican Party and vote for you instead. I know that they're high propensity voters, but it doesn't matter. There's still plenty of low propensity voters that you have to rely on to win. And that's precisely what the Democratic Party did. They hyper-focused on these key constituencies, despite the fact that polls were seemingly deadlocked after $30 million of ad spend.
Why did they hyper-focus on these key constituencies when they should have just talked about the Gaza war the entire time? They should have talked about my issue, the thing that I care about.
Key suburbs, right? Like, it showed, at least, I said this time and time again, it showed someone from the outside looking in that the message was not working. And you can have the best ground game possible. You can have, hundreds of thousands of people all across the country door knocking. But if the top-down message that you're communicating is not resonating with people, then you're not going to be able to win an election. You're not going to have the effective turnout necessary to win this election. And that is precisely what happened. Now, does that mean that Trump's messaging was good? Of course not. It wasn't. It was actually pretty bad. And I would even go so far as to say the anti-trans ads were actually a distraction and not good. It was only effective in the DC bubble, I think, and the consultant bubble and the media class that saw those ads and were like, oh my God, this is an incredible ad. Like, they really ruined Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris had a silly answer to an ACLU questionnaire.
Is there any way to discredit people like Hassan so that they can't destroy the party? There's... I'm trying to think of the analogy. Is it like the king has no clothes? If everybody is willing to play a game, then there's no way that you can really counter it. So like if you have people in media who don't do any homework or research on things and they just get passed shit by interns or whatever, then I mean, like there's nothing you can really do about it, right? My guess is this guy's probably never watched a Hassan stream before. He doesn't know anything about him. He doesn't know anything about his positions. He was probably told things about him. He's like, oh sure, yeah, bring him on or whatever and have him, come chat. That'd be my guess. So I mean, like if this is the level of responsibility or accountability you have for programs, then I mean, there's nothing you can really do.
And I'm just wondering, like,
but if the top-down message that you're communicating is not resonating with people, then you're not going to be able to win an election. You're not going to have the effective turnout necessary to win this election. And that is precisely what happened. Now, does that mean that Trump's messaging was good? Of course not. It wasn't. It was actually pretty bad. And I would even go so far as to say the anti-trans ads were actually a distraction and not good. It was only effective in the DC bubble, I think, and the consultant bubble and the media class that saw those ads and were like, oh my God, this is an incredible ad. Like, they really ruined Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris had a silly answer to an ACLU questionnaire, okay? That just shows that.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if those anti-trans Republican ads were probably pretty effective outside of the DC bubble, but they just because I feel like I've seen was it exit polling or whatever, that there were certain like woke issues or culture wars issues that like motivate or energize people a fuck ton.
That she is not the most experienced politician. This was all the way back in, I believe, 2020, right? She literally had to drop out of the primary anyway at that time. That's one thing, okay? But that should not be a campaign killer. If you personally think that that's a campaign killer, then your campaign is weak. This message across the board should never be able to end a single campaign. Then Teflon Don is real. I mean, the man had the grab him by the pussy tape come out of as the October surprise in 2016, and he still won. And since then, there's been a litany of different controversies, including but not limited to straight up undermining American democracy by doing January 6th. And yet people are still voting for him. And one must ask the question, why? And I think overall, the same exact problems that persisted in 2016 when the economy was seemingly very good, right? Especially as opposed to like the post-COVID economy and its recovery. People were still very frustrated with what was going on. The notion that in the wealthiest nation on earth, we have 600,000 people sleeping outside every night. The idea that, we have the concept of medical bankruptcy.
Homelessness was a huge motivator for the 2016 election. Then why is it that the states with the most amount of homelessness all vote blue? What? Like, it's just... it's so stupid. Like, I feel like I'm watching like grade school analysis. Like, when did the professionals come on and do real political analysis? Like, where are those people at? Do they have jobs in this field? Like, why do I have to listen to amateur hour? Like, it feels like being a professional StarCraft 2 player. And it's like, okay, we're going to get the analysis today. And you bring on like 2 Silver League people who are like, okay, well, today we're going to talk about why this guy won or this guy lost the game. And it's like, what? You guys don't even know what you're talking about. Why is it amateur hour right now? Like, he's just narrativizing. Yeah, his perspective is he's a far left, like a super radical socialist communist. So every single thing that happens in an election is going to be through the lens of like whatever weird Marxist class obsessive shit that he wants to talk about as a wealthy, rich capitalist who, makes his money as like a hyper consumerist capitalist in the United States, by the way.
Bankruptcy is an insane phenomenon that doesn't exist in any other OECD nation. Like the fact that 40% of the American public or 60% of the American public doesn't have $400 in emergency spending. Like, these are all very real economic anxieties. I'm using that term specifically because it's one thing that people like to hyper focus on. That that creates volatility, that creates instability.
This is also why I like it when people give us an example, or let's get into the weeds. Let's get into some numbers or some data. Because otherwise, there's these stories that you tell yourself does any of this map onto reality? Just think about things he said, homelessness was the reason why we got crushed in 2016. Well, first of all, Hillary won by millions of votes in the popular vote. Across the swing states, it was tens of thousands of votes that would have changed the outcome of the election. Hillary was also the relentless target of Republican smear tactics for literally decades. And then all the states that are experiencing these problems the most are the states that swung blue or not swung blue, are solid blue. So what do we even, what the fuck are we even talking about here? None of this is actually reducible to any reality or any fact of the matter.
Specifically, because, it's one thing that people like to hyper focus on that creates volatility, that creates instability, and it creates a base of angry people. And if the Democratic Party is not addressing that anger and addressing their material problems and earnestly telling them, we're going to fix that shit, okay? And the other side is looking at that anger and saying, we're going to channel your anger. You have every right to be angry. And you know who you should be angry at? Those who have less than you. You know who you should be angry at? The working poor, the homeless people that are doing crimes left and right, black and brown people, undocumented migrants that are doing incredible amounts of crimes. They're killing hundreds of thousands of Americans, and trans people. And the Democratic Party only cares about those people. And they don't care about you. And that message resonates with a base of support, not because they are intrinsically evil. That message resonates with a base of support because they're angry, and one of the two major parties is not even remotely interested in addressing that anger and trying to tell them what the solution to that anger actually is and what the real problem is.
It's so funny. It's so funny because Democrats run on and are judged by their policy records, and Republicans run on and are judged by their attack ads. What have Republicans ever done to address any of these fucking problems? Did homelessness go away under Donald Trump? Or was the working class exploding and finally, catching up to the middle class and the rich under Trump? Or was, did we do anything about fixing immigration under Trump? No. Did we do anything about alleviate, none of these things get fixed by the Republicans, but I guess they have good ads and good slogans. So for some reason we feel like that's enough.
So I want to break that into kind of how we the Democratic brand, how we message and all, but also on the policy front. So Joe Biden wins. He tries to kind of build consensus with Bernie. He brings in AOC. He goes to the left on antitrust. He does the Inflation Reduction Act. He does a post-COVID relief bill. He cancels as much debt as he can legally, even though the court is trying to stop him. Mm-hmm. Before the last year.
Ooh, sounds making evil faces right now. Oh, don't say anything good about Biden. Oh, he didn't do enough. Oh, he could have done more.
What my view of this is Joe Biden, this consensus Democrat, right? Actually to the right of the consensus for most of his career. Somebody that had to be kind of pulled to where the party was going. Did something extraordinary, which is he adapted, he changed. He governed in a much more progressive way than I think probably than I expected. I hope that you expected.
Oh, absolutely.
And it seems as though whether it's because people didn't feel it or people didn't believe it or the way Democrats talk about policy is ineffective, it didn't seem to matter in terms of how people viewed the Democratic response to the economy, right? They were so angry about inflation. They were angry about a bunch of other issues, and it really didn't matter what Joe Biden said or what Kamala Harris said. They were held responsible.
Or what they did. What they did, right? Because it didn't matter what they did. At the end of the day, the policy didn't matter.
Wondering how you explain that, right? It seems as though Joe Biden tried to listen to this exact critique, and it didn't matter.
So yes and no. I do agree. There are plenty of things that Joe Biden did, like beefing up the NLRB and letting the FTC rain hell upon these monopolies. There's two issues there, though. One is, I think, something that you will agree with as well, that the Democrats don't campaign year-round in the same way that Republicans do on key issues, and they do have a massive communication problem. That could potentially be solved by having a more robust ecosystem and more collaboration with even the likes of yourself and maybe even someone like myself as well. And they need to always be on. They need to always be counter-messaging against the anti-immigration sentiment. I went back and looked at my commentary from February of 2021 when the story of the Customs and Border Patrol Haitian migrants getting whipped by horseback Customs and Border Patrol people, officers was in the news. And I remember talking about how the Republicans are going to keep hitting the immigrants are doing crime note over and over again because that's the one thing that they have. And it's built around a complete falsehood that undocumented migrants are responsible for incredible amounts of crime. It's not correct. There is no data to suggest this. The data actually shows the exact opposite. Undocumented migrants are your neighbors. They contribute to the economy in very meaningful ways, and they very rarely take anything in return. Why is the Democratic Party not pushing this counter narrative? And they never did. Instead of pushing that counter narrative, which is based in truth, and talk about how undocumented migrants are responsible for less crime per capita than natural-born U.S.
Pretty sure they do say this, but then we just get Lincoln Riley, Lincoln Riley over and over and over and over and over again. Is it Lincoln or Lake and Riley?
citizens are, or that fentanyl being trafficked across the U.S. borders are actually not coming in the knapsack of a otherwise law-abiding abuela, but instead it's coming from regular points of entry trafficked by American citizens. 90% of the people that are being apprehended for chemical compounds necessary for fentanyl or direct drugs that they're trafficking across the border are American citizens. Like this does not track with the narrative that people believe, because the narrative is dominated by the right on this issue. They should have been counter-messaging against that, and they should have been putting bills forward in defense of the moves that, for example, Governor Greg Abbott was engaging in Ron DeSantis. I said this even back then, that this is actually a fantastic opportunity for the federal government to show that there is a more tolerant approach, that one, they should have immediately pursued Governor Greg Abbott legally and arrested him for human trafficking and tried to prosecute him for human trafficking.
Oh my God. It's how much? I'll do up to 30 minutes of this. This is just so cringe. I don't even know who the Pod Save America guys are. They're supposed to be like insightful political commentary, right? Like, is he gonna push back on this idea that, oh yeah, it would have been definitely super electorally popular for the president of the United States to go down and arrest the governor of Texas? Like, does he say anything, or is it just like if I manage to get on this show, is it just gonna be me? I should just like write down the wildest shit in the world. Like, oh yeah, like I definitely think that if Obama or if Biden or if Harris or anybody else, I think we should have just like missile struck probably like the most dense Republican areas in Michigan and Wisconsin. And I think if we just blew those areas up so that the voters were all dead, I think that we would have had a much better chance in the election, because obviously you've got, way fewer people showing up at the polls to vote for Republicans. Is he just gonna be like, oh, okay, yeah, that's definitely some interesting analysis. Yeah, maybe, like, is that...
care if it's a constitutional crisis or not. All of this stuff was insanely messed up, and the federal government dropped the ball. I think the Biden administration dropped the ball by not adding additional funds immediately, sending additional funds immediately to places like Chicago and New York, and to figure out a better way to transition a lot of these people and integrate them into the American labor force. And instead, they just got stuck in this like legal limbo for no reason.
So why is it that, okay, so Republicans say they sort of lay all these problems at the feet of undocumented immigrants. They say they're responsible for crime. Yeah. No, they're not. But there are obviously undocumented people. They're people, and some are committing terrible crimes, which they then exploit. But for the most part, these are people that not only are committing crimes at a low rate, but actually are unable to go to the police when they're victims of crime. Whether that's a domestic violence, they can't go to the police, or whether that's just sort of the quotidian mayhem of living in America, or a boss taking advantage of you. They can't go to the police, right? Yeah. Then they say, oh, well, they don't pay taxes. Actually, that's not true. They pay into Medicare, they pay into Social Security, and they don't get the benefits of it back. And then they say, well, they're driving up the cost of housing. I do not believe that undocumented people are the reason a house costs $450,000 where it used to cost $350,000.
Yeah, I didn't realize there were executives at BlackRock. The Guatemalan migrants are mass purchasing houses and making sure that everyone's a permanent renter. That's the point, though.
It's not BlackRock either, though.
$450,000 where it used to cost $350,000.
Yeah, I didn't realize there were executives at BlackRock. The Guatemalan migrants are...
The whole meme that, like, it's institutional buyers that are driving up home prices. Like, there are lots of people. There are not many homes. That's it. There are lots of people. There are not many homes. It's a physics problem at this point. When you have lots of people and not a lot of homes, cost of homes are going to go up, 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 up. No amount of rent control, no amount of molding over institutional investors, no amount of tax credits, no amount of anything is going to fix this. Like, that's it. You get the fuck out of the cities, go the fuck somewhere else, or stop crying about the most retarded fucking policies in the world to alleviate these issues. It's not illegal immigrants. It's not fucking student loan debt. It's you either need more homes, you need to change the zoning, or just fuck off and stop talking about it, because there's nothing else is fixing this problem.
Are mass purchasing houses and making sure that everyone's a permanent renter. That's the point, though. But it's not a trans person that's your landlord. It's not an undocumented immigrant that's your landlord that's raising the cost of rent. It's not, your manager is not an undocumented immigrant.
There are two big problems, though. One is there are a lot of people saying this, and it doesn't break through because there is this right-wing media system that puts out this one story. And the second problem is, like, Democrats really don't have...
Do you think a 5-year waiting list in Sweden with rent control is a better solution, or the one who pays the most? Yeah, I'm sorry. I could be totally wrong. I don't know why I would assume that I know this either. Some of you are fucking retards. 5-year waiting list? My understanding is if you're on a 5-year wait list in Sweden, it's because you're trying to move to a small city. But if you're on like the list for getting into Stockholm, my understanding is that list is like 20 plus years of a wait at this point. Am I wrong on that? Does anybody know? Because I remember when Melina was talking about like the list that would be for different cities, like you can be on a 5-year wait list, but that's if you're moving to like, I don't even know, for like Gothenburg or whatever. But like if you're looking at Stockholm, you're like decades out from moving to a place like that on like a listed, like a rent controlled unit or whatever.
Of trust on this issue with the people that they're trying to persuade to see it our way, which I think goes to the point you made before, right? Which is, why is it that Donald Trump can meander around the country rambling, committing what in any other era would be, if not like campaign ending, like campaign harming, ridiculous statements.
Gothenburg is 10 years plus. Gothenburg. I can't pronounce it. You're Swedish shit. Gothenburg is 10 years plus. Okay, never mind.
Gaff, sure. that he can basically be in like a strategic mess. But Kamala Harris has to hit every point exactly right. She says the wrong.
Yes, thank you. Okay, he's hitting points. He's hitting some things. Okay. Why can't bros? Listen, I hate all of this. It's just I don't know what to say. It's so boring. Like I listen to somebody go on a podcast. It's like, okay, what do you think is going on? I think the problem is definitely the phases of the moon. Oh, talk to me about that. Well, there's a lot of times where the moon is it's out of sync with our economic cycles, and what's happening is like the moon is very bright and it's causing people to spend way less money than they normally would. It's like, okay, well that's definitely a perspective. Thank you. Anything else? Yeah, I think that Capricorns are definitely moving the market in a bad way when it comes to our commodity markets and our futures. Okay, that's a perspective. Thank you. Like at any point in any of these shows, do any of these people ever feel an obligation to pick up a book or read a Wikipedia article or read an Investopedia article or just have like some or like bring up a poll or cite an actual study, not just like the top sentence of the top part of the abstract, like just anything ever, like just one thing ever, please. It's okay.
Wrong thing on The View, or there's a bad interview from 2020. Those things can be campaign ending. And I think to your point, it goes to something deeper, kind of a lack of a core vision or motivating mission for the current Democratic Party.
Yeah, something that is an understandable, easy to communicate, simple policy that you can put your campaign around. So,
like a $6,000 tax credit for people with children, like a $25,000 first-time homebuyer tax credit, like a I don't know about the business deduction thing. Those tax credits are big deals, by the way. I mean, I guess I don't know. Maybe. I don't know how much they motivate the ordinary person. I bought my first house when I was 19 with my now ex-girlfriend. And part of that was due to the fact that Obama had that first-time refundable tax credit. It was $8,000. I remember that tax credit. That was probably one of that and the FHA loan requirements were the reason why I was able to get my first house. The child tax credits are a big deal too, and they're refundable. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much more basic it gets than I will give you money. Here's money. Here's money. I don't know how much more basic it can get than that, but
an understandable, easy to communicate, simple policy that you can.
If it's so boring and stupid, why keep posting on your channel? It's so devoid of any value, and I personally would greatly appreciate never hearing this voice, Hassan's whiny-ass voice ever again, because this is what's in the media. Like, I don't know. I think it'd be interesting if, like, there is a 1 million view episode on Joe Rogan or Pod Save America or whatever, where it's like, oh, like, what are the actual impacts that immigration is having on crime or the economies of the southern states? And they bring on, like, 2 economists to go over, like, dueling perspectives on this, and then we can, like, open the literature and read, like, oh, okay, well, what are our lit reviews saying right now? What's our meta-analysis saying right now? What's the latest data from, the BLS or from ICE? That would be really interesting and entertaining and fun, because then we could like dig through shit. Instead, it's just like, oh, well, here are some people telling you their story and all of it's not falsifiable. So we can't even say if it's right or wrong. It's just like, okay, whatever.
You can put your campaign around. So we agree on the messaging front a little bit, at least, or the asymmetry of how much.
If Trump kicks out 30% of the construction industry's labor, I'm going to be able to charge $1 million for a roof, and the housing crisis is going to get real. True.
Right-wing, that is an understandable, easy to communicate, simple policy that you can put your campaign around. So we agree on the messaging front a little bit, at least, or the asymmetry of how much right-wing media.
I saw there were around 145 million housing units and 86 million homes in the U.S. How many people do you think should it be per home realistically? Sorry, I'm not trying to gotcha. I'm confused. Maybe the number is wrong. I don't understand what you're asking me. 145 million housing units and 86 million homes in the U.S. How many people do you think should be per home? I don't know what the question is. Are you implying that there might be more homes than people in the US right now? The issue is the distribution of those homes. Like if you look up maps of like available housing units maps, like people will always bring up this number